Pat McAfee Show.
There will be no rules for our guests, for us, for the things we can talk about. Yes,
speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions or my thoughts or anything like that.
While being relatable.
I haven't had that manufactured fake-ass celebrity that a lot of people have whenever they go on those big networks. I've had a chance to really build my crew, build my following, build my audience.
And ridiculous.
What am I supposed to do? So I'm supposed to look at something that I can definitely afford and say, nah. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
The Pat McAfee Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Damn it. And let the beat drop, please. Shout out Twine for that beat. A good day, beautiful people. It is Thursday, September 17th, 2020. The same day the U.S. Open has started. Tiger Woods started out with 3 birdies. Justin Thomas is in the lead, though. And also the same day that week 2 of the NFL season kicks off in Ohio. Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns play football tonight against each other. Joe Burrow gets a second opportunity to make up for a loss last week that he thought he had a game-winning drive. An OPI affects his first ever start in the NFL. And then the worst cramp in the history of cramps happened to Randy Bullock while he was attempting a 31-yard field goal to send it to overtime. He misses. Joe Burrow, 0-1. Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. Is this going to be a new year? Great team. All the weapons in the world. Re-sign Myles Garrett. Also get back Myles Garrett after a season-long suspension last year for a bonk on the head. But they couldn't figure it out either. They're 0-1. So tonight, 2 0-1 teams will take each other on. And I hate to say to the people that think that nothing is on the line tonight, au contraire, we have numbers to back it up. Did you know that since 1990, 1990, when the that's 30 years ago. 30. Oh, yeah. Since 1990, 0-2 teams in the NFL only have a 13% chance of making the playoffs. Yikes. 13%. And by the way, let's update those numbers a little bit. Since 2002, since the expansion of the league and the playoffs, 0-2 teams only have an 11% chance of making the playoffs. And now they changed the playoffs this year, the format. There'll be a couple more teams that'll make it. So maybe those percentages bump up a little bit, maybe 2-3%, who knows? The team that loses tonight, 86% chance not going to be in the playoffs. Is the season over? Who knows? Yeah. There's a lot on the line tonight. Joey Burrow, who looked fabulous last week, needs to get a win for the Bengals to change the direction of that entire team after having the #1 overall pick last year. And Baker Mayfield, he's playing for his job, I think, this year. New GM, new head coach, a lot of weapons. Are they trading Odell Beckham Jr.? What? Mm-hmm. Who knows? Big things, a lot on the line tonight. Can't wait to watch. We'll talk to DeQuell Jackson here in about 20 minutes, former teammate of mine, longtime Cleveland Brown, Pro Bowler. We'll talk to him about the Browns, what it's like playing for the Browns, his thoughts tonight, and also his NFL opinions in general, because the guy was in the NFL for like 75 years at linebacker, and he was one of those guys who had those helmets that did not have a lot of protection. We're talking a bruiser, a thumper, and a great man. Can't wait to talk to him. In the second hour, we have Jordan Palmer. Jordan Palmer, the guy that trained Joe Burrow during his training for the draft. Also a guy who was on the Bengals, and a man who created an app that tells you when you should pee if you go to movies at movie theaters. Ooh. I think it's called Pee Now app. Or Let's Go Take a Leak app, something like that. It was on Hard Knocks. I learned about it. I think he made money off of it, and I have used it before because I used to be a movie theater goer, although it feels like that is an industry that's probably going to be disappearing due to...
They're called Run Pee, too.
Run Pee. There it is, because you run...
and then you
pee. Great name, great app. He's a businessman. Can't wait to talk to him. And in the third hour, long-time NFL stud in the secondary, great friend of the show, Darius Butler will join us. And Darius told me this morning, he said, hey, I think I got a bet for you guys. So on, FanDuel, every gambling app, basically, there's always prop bets about the quarterback's pass yardage over under. So tonight, for instance, Joey Burrow's over under pass yard attempt is 200, or not attempts, but yardage is 238.5 yards. Okay. So 238.5 yards. Do you think Joey Burrow is going to throw over that or under that? Darius Butler said he watched film and he has full explanation on why we should hammer one of them. He's going to break that down in the third hour to me, and AJ Hawk will be joining us, and all the boys are here. At Tone Diggs is wearing his golf hat, I believe, because it's a big golf day with the U.S. Open.
Big golf day with the U.S. Open.
And then you got your necklace on too, because
gambling necklace. I mean, it's week 2. Let's get the good mojo juices flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. The Steelers are 1-0, so they will not fall into the category of this 11% making the playoff thing if you go 0-2 since 2002. Those are alarming numbers. And I'm not somebody that just does the numbers game. Okay, I'm not going to make a decision just strictly because of a high percentage in the past, because I truly believe unless it's 100%, I don't want to hear about it. If there is a potential alternate or outcome, I don't want to hear about that. Don't tell me hey, 90% of the time, whenever this is tried, it fails. Because I'm big, that means then 10% of the time it did work, right?
Yeah.
So if it has worked before, let's go ahead and figure out how we do that one. That is how I am. But that is quite a large hill that you're going to have to overcome. 86% failure rate, 89% failure rate, 80, whatever it changes to whatever this new playoff expansion is. There's a lot on the line tonight. And I would assume that both teams know that, hey, we have to get going here rather early. Because last week, Joey Burrow should have got a win. Offensive pass interference can't get it. Bengals, by the way, if they're 1-0, could you imagine the celebration? We got a guy. We got a guy, and we got a win. But instead, a Bengals thing happened, and the worst cramp in the history of professional sports happened to Randy Bullock while he was trying to hit the game-tying field goal. So they lose. But that, if they were 1-0, which they were very close to being, just like the Lions, I guess, too, there's a couple other situations that could have happened around the NFL, other teams that could have been undefeated as well. But tonight, the Browns could bounce back. They got a lot of weapons. Now, they're hurt on the defense side of the ball, but they got a lot of weapons. They could bounce back.
And not only the 0-2 for the playoffs, but even not bigger picture, but another picture is, say Odell gets targeted 10 times again tonight and only has 3 catches for how many yards he has. Does that fuel the fire to potentially being traded for Odell?
And by the way, if he's traded, is it a complete rebuild?
Yeah.
Are they?
Yep.
Because if they, listen to this overreaction by us. We haven't even got to tomorrow where we could completely overreact to this game. This could set the tone for what the Browns are going to be for the next couple of years. Because new GM, very smart guy. Very, very smart guy, Andrew Berry. He was with the Colts. I've known him since he was in his early 20s. I've seen him operate. I wanted him to be our GM whenever whenever Bill Polian was fired, after everybody said we sucked for luck. Well, the guy got fired then. I don't know if that's what he wanted to do. But he is an incredibly talented brain. And when put yourself in that position. You've worked he was a quarterback at Harvard, I believe. His credentials are very, very, very impressive. Then he comes in with, I don't know if he started with Dungy. I would assume he started with Tony Dungy, then Jim Caldwell, and he's scouting and doing all this. And then as you're doing that, though, and you're climbing the ladder and you're having success and you're enjoying it and you're finding gems that nobody else is finding, or doing good ideas and strategy on how a team should be built, you're probably thinking, one day I'm probably going to become a GM. And then you start saying, if I could build a team, how would I build the team? And whenever you have that vision, you have your thought. That's why you see a lot of teams make a lot of changes when a new regime comes in. And it is brutally honest. It is not great if you're on the team beforehand that gets completely overhauled. I was there for that decision and for that situation. I saw Peyton Manning get cut. I saw all of my friends get cut, basically. Got a text message from them that said, hey, do not answer your phone. Okay, they are cutting everybody. They just cut Peyton, for instance. So I've seen that happen, but that's because the GMs, while you're climbing the ladder for however long you're a scout or whatever you're doing, you're always envisioning what your team would look like. And then you get there and you have a team already built from the previous regime. And I was told that there's no loyalty between us because we did not draft you. That is a very real thought. Hey, we are not going to be judged by what somebody else brought in here. If we're going to be judged very harshly and probably get fired, which happens in that position a lot, we'd like to do it with how we envisioned it to happen. So that is why you have to think that Baker Mayfield knows, hey, he's going to have to play great football this year, because if he is, by the way, maybe Andrew Berry was like, you know what, I want a Baker Mayfield-like player. That is what he thought, and maybe it's like a match made in heaven or whatever. But I think there's also a chance that he's thinking hey, if I was to build a team, this is how I would want to build it. Okay, for instance, Bill Polian, you know how he built teams? He built the Colts team. We're going to be incredibly loaded on the offense side of the ball. Then we're going to get a lead. We're going to have everybody else playing from behind. So that means they're going to have to pass a lot. So we're going to have Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis on the outside. That's how we're going to build it. We're going to take the lead, and then we're just going to get after the quarterback. And that's where we'll spend all of our money. That's how they built their team. I would assume that when GMs get in there, like, okay, this is how I'm going to build the team. Some GMs are probably like, you know what? We're going to build through Chris Ballard. We're going to build through the offensive line. This is what we're going to do. So his first round pick was a guard. It was like 6 overall or something like that. And everybody was like, you took a guard. I don't remember how high it was. The actual number is going to have to be fact checked there. But everybody's like, you take a guard. He was like, this guy is a guy who's a culture changer for us. And he absolutely was. But you could see Chris Ballard was like, this is how I'm going to build this team, is through this. Now, other GMs do things differently. But I would assume Andrew Berry has that idea. And there's a lot on the line tonight. Because if they trade Odell, that means, okay, what else are they going to do? Well, let's assume if Baker doesn't figure this out or pick this up, or if he's potentially going to get moved, he'll play somewhere. I assume he'll play somewhere. Baker Mayfield will be a backup and then play somewhere. That if he doesn't work here, but there's a lot at stake tonight. I think whenever you look at the future of these two franchises. Now Joey Burrow, he can take his lumps and he just can do that. But when you're talking about Cleveland, it's like, hey, this is a rather large night.
Probably the biggest game in Cleveland in years.
Baker, biggest game for Baker.
Just because the potential outcomes of tonight is like, all right, we're changing the entire. Hey, we got Myles Garrett. We paid him. We got Austin Hooper. We paid him. I assume they love Jarvis Landry over there. Jarvis Landry is like their guy. If you watch Hard Knocks at all, just legend over there.
Chubb.
And if they're already saying they're potentially thinking about trading Odell, it's like, okay, if that's leaking out, let's assume there's maybe some fire there if the smoke's getting out. Or that's just somebody making up complete bullshit just to start it because they think that could potentially happen. Because Odell, by the way, for the lack of success that team has had while he's there, I feel like, now granted last week I think he got upset a bit, which every wide receiver would if they were having a day that he had, which could happen. I think he's handled it very well and a lot differently than anybody could fathom. So if this is leaking out, who's it leaking out from? Is it real? I don't know. A lot on the line tonight down there in the dog pond. I'm excited to find out. At Boston Connor, what's going on, bub?
Just getting ready for game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Basketball is still going on. But with this Browns team, the Ravens and the Bengals are a different animal.
There's a misdirection.
You know what I'm saying? Well, no one wants to talk about basketball.
Legit, by the way, we lose thousands of viewers and listeners whenever we go to.
We just lost them.
Yep, gone. Zito just said.
No juice.
No juice. No juice.
Ravens, Bengals, much different story for the Browns. When you play a very good team and then you're going to play a team that's obviously lesser like the Bengals, is the mindset a little different there?
I don't know. I think like the Bengals have to feel. Like for the Browns, you're saying?
Yeah, for the Browns.
I assume they're pretty pumped to not have to deal with Lamar Jackson. Like, I would assume that is that. But for the Bengals, they're also playing a much different looking team. Like for Joe Burrow, they're playing a much different looking team. So I think for both sides, they have to feel good going into the weekend for the matchup as opposed. But, I mean, we know nothing about anybody right now. No. But, hey, stats tell us. Numbers tell us.
Don't
can't do it. Yeah, the people in the past have somehow gotten over the 86% failure rate, but that number is very small in the last 30 years. Very, very, very small in the last 30 years.
Do you think Baker knows, like, hey, this is a must-win game for my career, or else I'm probably not in Cleveland?
I would assume those particular numbers, he knows that, by the way. He has to know that second one where it's like, hey, I know that there's potential. There's potential. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Yeah, Rodgers might be here.
He has to know that. Oh, could you imagine? It'd be wild. But yeah, he has to know that. I don't know if he knows the percentages though. I don't know if that's something. If I'm a head coach, if I'm walking in there, I'm Kevin Stefanski or whatever. Going in there. What's up, boys? I went to Yale. Where the hell he went? Where'd he go?
Penn, I think.
He went to Penn. Penn. We liked numbers. Let me tell you a number real quick. And I don't think I'll have to say much more or much less after saying this number. If we lose on Thursday night to Cincinnati, there's only like a 12% chance we make the playoffs. Let's have a snap.
Go get him. Go get him. Because if you lose,
get him.
Then it's hard to be like next week coming in week 3 and be like, wow, I already told you guys our season's fucked. So.
You want to see the stats for 0-3?
Hey,
you want to see what happens when we're 0-3?
Let's go and talk about this now. A wise man once said, if it's not 100%, I don't want to hear about it. That man was Pat McAfee, but we are damn close to 0% if we go 0-3. So we got to pick it up. What if that is what he does? I don't know, but those stats aren't known, but everybody knows like you should. You know, you have to win some games. Yeah, you have to play well. At Ty Schmidt, you did not get to ask Aaron Rodgers a question the other day. But whenever you see situations like what's happening in the Browns, and even, by the way, at the Colts, haven't had a quarterback really, like, locked in here And since Andrew Luck retired 4 days before the season or whatever, still trying to find a quarterback, had a quarterback for a long time, has to feel good knowing that you just got a guy that could probably play for another 10 years at a very high level. And, by the way, can make up for any bad decisions that are made around him, which seem to happen on a very regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel great. And you hope that, the front office kind of is just taking notes of what he's doing. I mean, even after week 1, it's like, you know what, we may have jumped the gun here. We may have made a massive mistake because this guy's still got a lot of good football left in him.
Oh, so this guy's throwing it harder than he's ever thrown it. Oh, this is potentially to show us, like, hey, there's no reason to draft replacement at this time. I got another long. I got Pat McAfee's career left. I got his entire career left if I want to. That now, granted, he would never say that. He's been a gentleman throughout this entire process, very professional. But if you're around Aaron Rodgers, like a friend or family member or anybody that's been around, you have to think to yourself, like, man, why can't this guy get the same exact treatment that everybody else that's very good at football seems to get? That is one of those things you have to question. But the good thing about having a guy like that is he makes up for a lot of errors.
Exactly.
Having an Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and just he still carries a massive chip on his shoulder. I mean, right before the season started, he was gushing about one of his wide receivers. Packers immediately turned around and cut him. He's in Buffalo now. Like, there's no way he doesn't still, like, hold those guys accountable. It's like, hey, I might go out here and burn the world down, but at the end of the day, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I don't know if he would say that out loud.
No,
ever.
Definitely not publicly.
He's going to Cleveland.
But that's not a bad. Could you imagine?
Why? Because they fucked him over. Why wouldn't he?
If Aaron Rodgers would, now let's say he plays out his contract, because we have Aaron on every week, so people might think that we know stuff from it. We do not.
No.
The only time we talk to Aaron is on the show. Like that, literally, the only time I talk to Aaron is on the show and at a golf tournament that we're currently undefeated on. But we're undefeated in, so we don't know anything. So you know just as much as we do. And I do that on purpose because I don't want to know anything. I've learned that it is hard for me to learn things about my friends. Like, I'm very happy that I don't have as many friends playing in the league right now, because throughout my life here on a microphone, it's been very difficult for me not to just be like, oh, I remember when this guy did blah, blah, blah. And by the way, 2 days ago, he told me that. Like, that is, I don't have that type of filter. So we don't have any inside information to this. But if Aaron Rodgers was to potentially either get traded out of Green Bay because they want to move on or whatever, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen, only week 1, though, he told us not to overreact. If he was to go to Cleveland and win there, he'd be a football god. They might actually make like a gods. They might make like a
Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, legit.
Like a real one in the mountains?
If he was to go there and win, because how long has it? What was that?
Was that a shot at Mount Rushmore?
No. I'm saying like not just like a billboard, like a Mount Rushmore in
like
the
a
actual
sculpted.
mountains.
Yeah.
Yes, like the real one.
There was some conspiracy
Not 100%.
theory.
No. Well,
Whoa, with him, you don't know.
Tony.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't know how big cliffs are in Cleveland. I don't know if they have
Pretty flat by the lake
you
there.
can kind of chisel into or whatever.
Put some in.
But if he was to go somewhere like that, or anywhere, by the way, if he was to go anywhere, you see Tom Brady now in Tampa, and that's becoming a situation in of itself outside of the building, it sounds like. Tom Brady throws 2 picks in his Buccaneer debut against the New Orleans Saints. After the game, Bruce Arians comes out and says, like, basically the way he's trying to spin it is like, yeah, it's a new offense. Tom's trying to get used to things. Tom and Mike Evans are trying to get on the same page. And he actually said Mike saw something, Tom misread it, and then the other one, he's like, well, Tom was late on that. So the immediate reaction by everybody was, oh, this new relationship that Tom Brady has with Bruce Arians is already sounding pretty similar to the Bill Belichick-Tom Brady relationship. If anything we've heard from the book, The Dynasty or whatever the hell it is true, it feels like these types of things follow Tom Brady now at this case. And everybody was going to keep an eye on that, because that was a big part of the story was, did Tom hate the way Belichick spoke to him? Did Tom hate the way he was treated? So then whenever something like that seems similar, now granted, I would assume a lot of Tom Brady's opinions behind closed doors are being listened to, and I assume he's a part of the game plan and strategy, which is what allegedly is what he was upset about as well up in New England, so I assume that's happening. But when you hear the coaches be like, Tom misread it, and then boom, 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 you're like, oh, what's going to happen here with Bruce Arians?
Yeah.
So then the next day, Bruce comes out and he goes, actually, after watching film, what we learned is Mike Evans was actually wrong, and it wasn't Tom Brady. So then the late throw, though, outside, obviously was Tom Brady's fault. I think everybody knew that. And you hear Frank Reich come out and take blame for Phillip Rivers' interceptions for calling the wrong play at the wrong time or something like that. And you start comparing, and it's like, oh, so Bruce threw Tom under the bus immediately after the game. then got fact-checked afterwards and said, well, he was actually wrong. And then he got asked about it yet again, and Bruce said, we both came to work, we're fine, let's just keep it moving. So this does very much sound like a situation that is being cooked outside of the Buccaneer building, and Tom and Bruce have no problems with each other. But I would assume Tom is storing this deep down inside about how come this seems to happen to me all the time and doesn't happen to, I don't know, any other real legendary quarterback that has ever played football. And I would assume Bruce and Tom are going to get along very well. I think they're both very like-minded, very competitive, and things like that. But this type of thing off of week one, you got to think like, oh, Tom's got to be being like, these motherfuckers. Like, he has to be thinking. Like,
if you don't think Giselle burned down the house after he was treated
is that
like fucking Timmy Tampa.
That's why Derek Jeter's selling the house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's why.
I mean, they got to replace the entire fucking west wing of it. But
I didn't even think about that because marble doesn't burn, but there's got to be a lot of things that could have went down in there.
A lot of paintings.
Oh, so now we're Tommy Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and think about it. If she was mad about him getting treated in New England, being Johnny fucking Foxborough, and that never even happened. Nothing even close to that ever happened. She must be through the roof.
They got to learn about each other, down there. It's still a learning curve.
Yeah.
Week one, they're still going to be very good in about 5 weeks, 4 weeks.
She's already looking
Bruce,
for
you're going to learn
houses.
about me. I don't like being thrown under the bus after each game. Okay.
So maybe go out there and tell them the truth, which I saw on my Microsoft platform on the sideline there, that was not what you said it was, actually, or Mike. I was right, which is what I told Blaine Gabbert immediately upon fucking throwing that interception. And Bruce goes, well, damn, you are right. Okay, I will. But somebody had to tell Bruce, and I would assume it was, who knows who it could be. No, somebody had to tell Bruce that Mike Evans was right and Tom was wrong, right, on the sideline. That had to happen. So Bruce was taking the word of somebody that he probably has known for a very long time telling him that. And then after rewatching the film, Tom actually saw it like this instead of this. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but boy, it is great conversation fodder. At Viva La Zito on the couch running the poll and running the internet today for us. Zito, what is the poll and how is it shaping out so far?
So far, we got who will stink the most tonight. We got Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, and the refs. And the comments below is all saying OBJ's chest. I don't know what that means.
Come on. That's why you said it that way.
Well, you also, a lot of comments are saying your feet, too, but you left that out. Jeez.
I didn't see that.
We just tell them to give answers, too. We'd like to hear what the poll is.
Pick the poll.
All the boys in the engine room are here as well. We'll hear from them. And on the other side of the break, we'll talk to DeQuell Jackson, longtime member of the Cleveland Browns, then the Indianapolis Colts Pro Bowler, stud linebacker, about his life and what he's going to. Hey, what do you think about that Browns defense? Pretty banged up. What's going to go down? DeQuell Jackson joins us on the other side. 1-888 Mad Dog. That's still happening. Shout out to Chris Mad Dog Russo, sports talk show, talk radio legend and pioneer. Legit. I hope everybody. I don't want to piss that guy off.
No, the barking's a tribute to him.
Yeah.
No, but we've been hearing things now, and I would like to let. Hey, I'm honored to be here.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He signed off his show yesterday, Mad Dog Unleashed, McAfee Radio.
Heard that.
And I hope that is not anger at me. I honestly, I
That's
hope
a compliment.
That's callers.
It's his callers bitching about us the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Does he want us? No.
He likes us.
I think he likes us. He's been going to bat for us. I think he likes us.
Yeah.
I hope so. I just don't want to cause. Hey, you are a legend, sir. I got no problems at all. Very thankful to be on your channel. Anyways, let's get to a break. September 17th, the Pat McAfee Show. DeQuell Jackson joins us on the other side. Cheers. Been up since 5:30 a.m. right now. Had incredible meetings though with the Memphis coaches and the Navy offensive coordinator. I record a podcast too. I mean, we got nothing but time. Nice dinner for Aspect's birthday. This is my fault. I might be sleeping in the truck. It never ends, dude. I honestly don't know how it happens. You have a room?
Yeah, it's a big room.
You have a good room? It's nice. Take care of the boys. You know what I mean? I'll sleep on the street out here. I'll go busking with a guitar like I'm the next fucking Elvis. You know what I mean? I'll earn my way. This does seem to always happen. Are these couches available? Back on a pillow too. I'm gonna need it because I'm gonna be sleeping on a fucking bench. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and brush my teeth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
No big deal. Just walking the streets of Memphis. with my sack here and my pillow. Walking in Memphis with no room to sleep in tonight. Walking in Memphis. Right now I can fall asleep, but I fight. Walking in Memphis. Instagram models posing on stairs. Walking in Memphis. A couple methods right over there. My last hotel didn't have a room for me.
Baby, we have a room for you. Come on.
Hold up.
Do they set up a room for you already?
I found you, baby. I got you. I got you. I got you today.
Appreciate that. Today is hour 14.
Y'all take care of Patrick, all right?
Boys, huh? King of the castle. A view of the pool. All right, so now I gotta go to a production dinner and then record a podcast. Let's go ahead and do this. It's going, dude. I mean, honestly, today's tomorrow. Tomorrow was yesterday. You know, it just all kind of runs together. It's kind of a long walk.
Yeah, it's a palace.
We're going all night long.
Bring that beat down. Bring that beat down. 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 Bring that beat. Bring that beat down. 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 Bring that beat down.
The Pat McAfee Show.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, September 17th. Joining us now is a Pro Bowl linebacker who played for the Browns for a long time, then the Indianapolis Colts. We're talking about a man who threw his head into other humans on purpose for a long, long time. Locker neighbor of mine for a couple years, ladies and gentlemen, Duckwell Jackson.
Pat, how's it going, man?
Hey, not too shabby. We had a conversation earlier, FaceTime. I was shirtless, and I told you I had to wear a shirt that had a collar on it, and I was going to get changed.
I'm glad you put a shirt on. Thank you.
Well, hey, no problem. I look good. You said I look good. You said I look jacked, tanned, and impeccable. I think we're.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, I thought that's what you said. But I got dressed up to talk to you because this is your first time joining us on the Sirius XM Mad Dog Radio Channel 82, and we appreciate the hell out of you, brother.
Thank you guys for having me, man. It's always great to talk to the great Pat McAfee.
You and I were teammates for, I think, a few years, 3 years, maybe 4 years. I forget how long. But you came over from the Browns. How long were you at the Browns?
8 seasons, 8 long seasons.
Okay, so let's talk about it because I think after you warmed up to me, which did not happen immediately, the people.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Did not happen immediately. There was a little bit of a, probably, by the way, the exact same thing that's happening with a lot of the serious listeners right now. There's a lot of that happening right now. I came in, a lot of energy, and then you and I had a great conversation.
Yeah, no, it was good. You know what? It was funny. I tell people this all the time. So, Pat, for the listeners who don't know this story, so Pat would always be one of the first guys in the building. And so would I, right? So we were locker mates, and you know, I'm not used to this, like, this kicker, no offense, this kicker just with so much personality and is funny and is talkative, but sometimes at 6:30 in the morning, you don't want to hear that. and I'll never forget. I leaned over one day. You were in one of your modes. You were talking. You were just chatting it up as always. And I look at you and I simply asked you a question. I'm like, is this what I have to look forward to? And you looked at me and were like, oh yeah. And it was like, you know what? I appreciated the candor, and we just hit it off ever since, man. And it was great to get to have a locker next to you and have some funny stories to tell. And I miss that locker room chatter. I really do.
Hey, me too. That locker room was an awesome place. And I think a locker room kind of changes, as humans come in. And when you came into the locker room alongside Pops, Mike Adams, it was like this two veteran presence that came in who maybe weren't in a great spot before then, but have played great football, and then kind of like immediately took this leadership role, which doesn't always happen, by the way. Even if somebody's old, it's not easy just coming and be a leader.
I was a battered human being in Cleveland for 8 years. What to expect? I was battered, so I wasn't used to a situation where guys had fun and enjoyed coming to work and not have to worry about, are we in this business of winning games? So it was all new to me, and you guys welcomed myself and Pops with open arms, and it was a great 3 years, to be quite frank.
Okay, so let's talk about that experience that you had in Cleveland, because everybody basically says the same thing. It's like the place is set up to win. It has great facilities.
Yes.
It has great fans. It's everything. Just for some reason, though, can just never happen. And there's a couple coaches have told me you haven't officially coached in the NFL until you've been fired from Cleveland. And then
Absolutely.
Yeah, but why is it like that? Why is it about the Cleveland Browns?
I wish I had a crystal ball, Pat. I wish I really did, but it's something about, I can honestly say, anyone who's ever been a part of that franchise, and whether it be a coach or a player, the Cleveland Browns never lacked talent. They always had talented players. It was always a carousel of coaches and front office moving nonstop. So you can't build any continuity, whether it be on the offensive side, whether it be on the defensive side of the ball, and you add the fans. The fans are the most loyal fans in the National Football League. They may boo you around the third quarter, but they will show up. They will show up. I can honestly tell you that. But I had a great experience from a fan standpoint, but in that building, it was toxic at times. And it also felt like the older and the more I understood the business of the game, you start to realize, wait, are we actually in the business of winning games or collecting draft capital? Because it seems like every year the Browns have a ton of draft capital, but they never are able to triculate that over to the field, and as a result to win more games, because it's always constant movement in the front office. That's the best guess I could give you, but I wish I had a crystal ball to fix that problem, because Odell Beckham is going through it right now. This team, and I know I'm going on a rant right now.
No, it's good.
It seems like the Cleveland Browns can't figure out what their identity will be. They have all this talent on the offensive side of the ball, whether it be Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, you have Baker Mayfield, but then you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They don't know whether they want to run the football or throw the football. Yeah. So they have the personnel to throw it, but I think in order for this team to be successful and to be successful consistently, they have to set up the pass through the run.
Okay.
Run game.
Okay, you said a lot there, and I feel like I love the rant, by the way, because we learned a lot through your emotion there, and I think that is very good. And I think while you're in the middle of it there, talking about Odell at the end, there is a plane landing in your backyard.
Yeah. So I'm in D.C., so I live very close to the airport.
Oh.
And I was trying to talk through it, but yeah.
No, you battled.
It's probably going to come another 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, we hear a plane fly over. So I'm actually in my backyard. I just got a pool built, so I'm trying to. I've been swimming a lot. I've been swimming a lot lately.
Living over there, take care of the joints. Let's go back to your comments about the Browns, because they're in the middle of movement right now. I mean, new head coach, first game last week. Obviously, this is his second game with Kevin Stefanski. Andrew Berry, who was at the Colts for a long time, who I thought should have been a GM for a long time ago. Once you become a GM or a head coach and a GM pairing, you probably have always had this thought of what your team should look like. Like, this is what we think our team should look like. They have Baker Mayfield coming into his third year. First year, electric. Last year, not as great. Now he's in his third year. I think there's a lot that Baker Mayfield's going to have to do for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski to be like, yeah, this is what we want our team to be shaped around. And I like Baker Mayfield. I stuck up for Baker Mayfield on television a lot. He hasn't played the best football, but I like him. I just don't know if he knows Well, he probably does at this point because he understands the business of football. It's like he's going to have to win them, I think, like a Super Bowl, or they're going to be moving on to somebody else, which is, to your point, even more turnover. So now we got another couple years waiting on this whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right because Andrew Berry never drafted, Baker Mayfield. So this is going to be very interesting, with us being in the middle of a pandemic right now and these guys not having a traditional offseason, no training or abbreviated training camp, but no preseason games. This was actually their first preseason game. It's going to take quite a bit of time for this offense to figure out, and Steve Stefanski to figure out, okay, what does my team do well offensively? Because that's where you've invested a ton of money in, and you need to see some results. And listen, I'm like you. I love Baker Mayfield. I love the aura that he presents. I love the bravado. I love all of that. You need that in Cleveland. You have to be thick-skinned. But, if he doesn't start to turn the corner here, I feel like tonight is a must-win for them because Cleveland has seen this quite often of them starting 0-2 and them not being able to dig themselves out of a hole. And you go down 0-2, you have a new GM, you have a new head coach. Now that blame is going to start turning on the players.
Oh, yes.
Particularly Baker Mayfield is going to take the brunt of it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And funny you said that because I do believe you are a part of some of these stats here. And I don't want you, since 1990, teams that start 0-2, only 13% chance to make the playoffs, right? So these are some numbers here. And then since 2002, when the league expanded, only 11% chance to make the playoffs since 2002 if you start out 0-2. Now, they're expanding the playoffs this year, so maybe that number will jump up a little bit. But a lot of people think like week 2 doesn't matter because, hey, you're not playing your best football. We agree. Teams are going to change from week 2 to week 15, and you have to be playing your best football at week 15. But you have to figure some things out early to be playing better than everybody else who's trying to figure out their football as well. In history and numbers here, which I'm not a big numbers guy, but that is a pretty telling fact.
Well, the Cleveland Browns, it should be fairly easy. The hardest thing to do in this league is to accumulate talent, and they have a bundle of it. And somehow this coach, either you decide to run the football or decide to pass the football. Either way, you have to decide, okay, what's going to set up what? Are we going to pass first, run second, or run first, pass second? Well, what's best for Baker Mayfield at this point? And I think, again, he's been with multiple head coaches, multiple offensive coordinators, so you can evaluate him, evaluate him as you may, but I still think there's a chance for him, but I think that environment in Cleveland is at times can be toxic. At times it can be overwhelming. And it seems like to me, it's only a matter of time before Odell Beckham kind of boils over and is through with this because he's not getting enough targets and he's not giving him they're not putting him in a position to help this football team win games.
So he got a lot of targets last week, I think. He had 10 targets,
like 10.
Which, by the way, I think he's pumped up about. I would assume they're not going to change that because he's a very dynamic player, unless the rumors of them wanting to trade him are true. Then, there's a lot to digest there.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, so who knows? But tonight's a big night, and tomorrow we will overreact to hell and back about it all. Yeah, absolutely. You talked about a team, whether you want to run it or pass it, you got to figure it out. Back whenever you were playing linebacker, there's a lot more teams that ran the ball. Like running the ball is a big deal. And you were a Mike linebacker, so you literally had to stick your face in a lot of people's other faces. Who was somebody you hated tackling? Who's like in the history of your career that you were like, you know what, this person, I hated tackling them. I'll tell you who I had. Antonio Cromartie. Need my jaw through my nose.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I can see how that could affect you long term.
Thank you.
I you know what? A name that jumps out to me is a guy that really wasn't all that flashy, but he was as big as I was, and he was fast, and he was a tough tackle, and that's Ronnie Brown. I don't know if you remember when he was with the Miami Dolphins, and the Wildcat was like, and it was Wildcat left, Wildcat right, Ronnie Brown left, Ronnie Brown right, and it was just like oh my gosh, he was just a handful to tackle, but I got lucky. Because when I was drafted to the Cleveland Browns, that was the year a guy by the name of, nicknamed The Bus.
Oh, Jerome Bettis. Wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. That was a song that they made us sing in Pittsburgh as kids.
Oh, my goodness. So I got lucky by avoiding him by a year. But I think Ronnie Brown sticks out, and Adrian McPherson. I don't know if you noticed, but if you're a Sports Illustrated fan at all, years ago, I made the cover of Sports
Congratulations, DeQuell.
Not for those reasons.
No.
I had a fistful of dirt in my helmet, and you see Adrian McPherson. He ran over like 10 of us, and he ran for a 60-yard long touchdown. I mean, it was embarrassing as hell, but at least I made the cover.
Yeah.
Cover.
Hey.
Yeah.
Still on the cover. You talk about that Wildcat offense that was down there in Miami, and everybody was like, oh, this is going to work. Pat White, actually, everybody was like, oh, Pat White's going to be a Wildcat offense. And then it kind of disappeared for a little bit. And then now it's a whole new wide open offense. I mean, the offense it's part Wildcat, it's part spread, it's part this, it's part everything, a lot of college. If you were in there, you said you're so glad you're not in it.
I'm so glad I'm not part of this NFL right now because I can't keep up. When I was drafted, there was, lead left, lead right, occasionally go empty, and then the Wildcat was implemented as you hit on. But now there's a complete spread offense, and a guy my size, 6 foot, 235 pounds, I'm considered a safety in today's NFL. So it's extremely difficult to play defense right now. You can barely hit anyone. Everyone is a pass catcher. There's no traditional, conventional running backs nowadays. They're glorified pass catchers. So it's extremely difficult to play defense in this league today.
Tight ends also, by the way. They're just
tight ends as well.
They're just bigger, stronger wide receivers that just so happen to be in there, and they are fast, by the way. Very linemen
Hey,
too.
and congratulations, you getting married, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Hey, forever's a long time. Forever's a long
To the
time.
club.
Hey,
to the club.
I appreciate
Here's
that.
another plane, by the way. Let's just talk through it. Pretend like you don't hear anything.
You're in D.C. Are those commercial planes, or you got like military grade engines flying overhead?
No, they're commercial planes.
Oh, okay. So you got Southwest up there. Watch out for that.
Yeah,
thing.
Southwest, Delta, those type of guys.
Oh, got you. Your birthday's in 9 days. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And no, geez.
No.
52 looks great
Who
on
did
here.
that?
No, dude.
man.
They could have easily kept you out of there too. Like they could have did like a different background, but instead it's
Crop
Adrian Peterson dominated this game.
I do think you called him McPherson a couple times, and I had no idea who you were talking
did?
about.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know who you were.
So Adrian McPherson was a guy. He won Mr. Football in the state of Florida. Was a Florida State FSU.
Hey, shout out Adrian.
Mr. McPherson.
Mr.
congrats.
McPherson's a stud. DeQuell,
he's a stud.
thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate you so much.
Hey, thank you guys for having me, and I'm probably going to take a dive in this heated pool.
Hey, is that salt water? Is this salt water?
It is.
Oh,
Wow, this guy.
smart.
He knows.
Oh, a little hot tub up
That
there
is
too.
nice.
Hey, that's good masonry, ain't it? Hey, it's good masonry.
Lucas Lagoon?
Yeah. Don't
Is
eat
that
it.
Lucas?
Yeah,
was
the
that?
background. That's the wife's. Don't mind the swan.
Yeah, sure. Okay, get after. Hey, you do whatever you got to do back there, DQ. Ladies and gentlemen, DeQuell Jackson. Thank you,
Take
man.
care, guys.
He was a great teammate. Great teammate.
Sports Illustrated really screwed him over there.
I mean,
Jesus.
Yeah.
And the reason why they picked the photo is because of his appearance on it.
C on the chest.
Yeah, and they don't even care, by the way. They just moved along. Hey, who's this guy on the ground here? Doesn't matter.
Cleveland. Who
Makes
cares?
Adrian Peterson look good. Let's just go ahead. He probably has that in his house at some point, I would assume. And also, I'd put it on my phone and I'd just zoom in. You know what I mean?
Adrian McPherson must have been
I looked him up after he said that. And I was like, oh, this guy looks pretty good at football, too.
I didn't know who he was referring to.
either. No
But
idea.
I was like, oh, Mr. Florida. I was ready to read about it for a couple minutes.
It's a good pull.
Those days whenever I would go into the building, I was an early arriver because I lived far away from. So I found a house for very cheap that was just ridiculously large, and I had to buy it, but it wasn't very convenient to where the football facility was. It was like 45 minutes away, and I had to leave at a time where if I left like 15 minutes later or 20 minutes later, it would take me forever to get
Traffic.
there. And I would have made it on time if I would have left at that time, but I don't like sitting in traffic, so I would leave early. And I was like, I think Vinatieri would get in there early. Obviously, Luck would get in there early. I was in there, and then he became like an early arriver or whatever, and it was awesome. Every time he walked in and sat down next to me the first day, I'm like, oh, what's going on, man, And he's like, hey, how's it going? Like trying to be very nice, And And I'm like, what's Cleveland like? First question out of my mouth was like, what is Cleveland like? Because at that point, there were stories of Mangini making them run Oklahoma drills at like 6 a.m. or something like that. There was like all these, back in the day, there was all these stories out of Cleveland that like kind of make their way around. I'm like, is this? And I think the first day he was like, well, hopefully I don't have to talk to the fucking punter ever again. You know what I mean? And then next day I'm in there just kind of hanging out, and he walks in. He's the first person I see in my entire day, by the way. So guess what, pal? I got some things that happened last night.
Yeah, I got to talk about
that I would like to talk to you about. See if you saw the same exact thing that I saw. Let's go ahead and talk about it. And that day, wherever he goes, is this going to be every day? And I go, oh yeah, every day. And he goes, okay. He was literally that day. He was like, okay. He said, I think I'll hold you to it or whatever. And I was like, all right, sounds good. Oh, good. But
And by the way, whenever we travel and we meet new people and whatnot, they'll come up to me and be like, yo, like, is Pat like this all the time? And I'm like, yes, literally 24/7 every single day.
Every day. Okay, I got something to talk about. Let's go ahead and have a conversation. I'm curious about what your thoughts are on this thing that I saw that you might not have seen, but since you didn't see it, well, now I got to explain it to you.
Yeah.
So, because I would like to know whether or not you believe the same thing, because I need to figure this out right now. What's up, Diggs?
So I wanted to ask you, because he brought up about Cleveland and regime changes. You've been through one. And like, obviously the good franchises like Tomlin and Colbert have been in Pittsburgh for 20 years. Schneider and Pete Carroll been there for 10 years. Belichick and Brady were there for 20 years. And like, there's this franchise that if you stay the same, it seems like you're just going to be good all the time.
So it's interesting because that's like an ipso facto that you're saying. If this, then this, right? And your if is if it stays together, then success happens. But it's just like I told you that story about Rich Rodriguez. The only thing he'd ever tell me in practice was to keep my head down. And he said, you only lift your head and your fucking misses or whatever he say. And I'm like, well, there's more to it, because the only reason why I'm lifting my head is because I felt myself hit it fat. So if I feel it's probably gonna miss, I'm like, I want to look at it to see how bad it is and maybe I could sneak it in. So it's not just me lifting my head that is missing it. It's actually me hitting a ball fat, feeling it, and changing what I'm doing after. So with what you're saying, I would assume that if you're together for 10 years, 15 years, you're good at what you do. Yeah. There's a lot of situations, I think, where people get in there and they're just bad at what they do. And even if they're like, the people making decisions are like, well, are we going to let this for another 4 or 5 years? There has been no reason that this person has proved that they will be able to succeed if we were just to keep them together. And also, obviously, there's obviously personality differences that happen. And also, we're in a world where if you look complacent at all, if you, especially with the fact that the world has gotten much smaller and people's opinions who were never heard before are now heard, fan bases can tweet directly at their team, and their team, even though it's probably a social media person, they are seeing it, and that person is probably relaying the message to somebody who's relaying the message to somebody like, hey, this particular thing is not being well received on the internet right now. We're in a world where you can't look complacent, you can't look like you're okay with being average or losing, so you have to turn over. But I think whenever you look at the particulars where you're like, okay, the Steelers have been together a long time, Patriots have been Bill Belichick's run for a long time, Schneider, Carroll been together a long time. There's a reason they've been together a long time. It's because they had success at what they were doing. It's not really, I don't know how many terrible coaches were given an opportunity to be around for 10, 15 years and they turned it around in year 10. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how often that is, and it's not realistic.
Because it's not like any of those guys that I mentioned started off like the first 3 years with losing records.
Well, and maybe they have. I don't know.
Marvin Lewis. I mean,
see, there we go.
That comes to mind.
That is the opposite. Yeah.
There is the great. It's like, because maybe the guy who doesn't have an indoor practice facility, he's still in the year 2020 for his team, and Mr. Brown over there saw what everybody else has done. Like, hey, if we keep people together for a long time, they're good. So that's why after years and years of people saying Marvin Lewis has done the same old thing. By the way, we like Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, good guy.
But he did the same old thing in Cincinnati for a long, long time. And the owner's like, no. If you look at the Steelers, they just keep the sons of bitches there for long enough, they'll figure it out. And it's like, well, that never happened there. And sometimes that happens. But in the world, the complacency thing where you just got to cut ties quick because we need success right now, not tomorrow. We need it right now. Here's Sean McDermott. They stuck with Sean McDermott even though he made the playoffs, and then he got rid of Tyrod Taylor, and then they didn't do it. He did good, but other than that, you don't see a lot of people get a chance.
Jason Garrett would also be in the Marvin Lewis basket there.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly. So go ahead.
If things do go bad for the Browns this year and they end up having to like get rid of Baker and kind of blowing things up, do you think it makes more sense for them to bring in a guy like Nick Foles or someone like that as opposed to drafting another guy high and then have him have to go through 3 head coaches and it basically is, he's just shit out of luck for the rest of his career?
Okay, so if I become a GM, the way I see the team being built is I want a freak athlete at quarterback and I want a good offensive line. Okay, so that's how I would envision my team being built. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And with that, since I'm going to have a freak athlete and good offensive line, I'm probably going to run the ball a lot, which means games might be close. So that means, okay, now what do I need? I need a D-line then. I need a good D-line. So then, like, that is how you piece together a team. Like, that's how you view a team. Much like what I just said about Bill Polian with the way he built the Colts with a good offense. And then what does that mean? We're going to have the lead. Peyton's going to score. So we need 2 good pass rushers to get the ball off quick because they're going to be throwing a lot. Like, that's how people build teams and view teams. I have no idea what Andrew Berry views his team. You know, you have no, like, for instance, Cam Newton's going to be a free agent right after this year, right? Maybe in Andrew Berry's eyes, he's like, all right, I want a freak athlete at quarterback. We're building, they already invested in the offensive line, I think, this past offseason. Conklin. Maybe that's what he's going with. Or maybe since he just gave Kareem Hunt a 2-year, $9 million deal, which, by the way, is nowhere near that large of a deal. And it's probably because, well, it's definitely because of what he did off the field. He's going to get a second chance. But who knows if that's Andrew Berry saying we're committed to being a run team there, right? You see them get paid. You're like, oh, maybe he's committing to be a run team. You see them bring in a tight end that can block and catch. You see them invest in an offensive line. You see him pay a running back. So maybe you're thinking like, hey, he's going to be a run team. But who knows what's going to happen? And maybe Baker Mayfield is the quarterback he's thinking for a run first team. But I mean, that's going to have to get figured out. That's all in whoever's in charge.
Right.
Like Al Davis for the Raiders. Everybody knew exactly what they were going to draft. The fastest people possible. That's why being a punter for the Raiders had to be a fucking dream. And I tell Shane Leckler that. Shane Leckler is the greatest punter of all time, Shane Leckler. Okay, that's what Shane Leckler is. And also one of the coolest humans to ever walk the earth. Just like beer drinking, beast, shit talking, ball bombing dude. Just like everything you would potentially want in a guy. For me, as a punter, as a guy who's like the GOAT, it's like, this is the guy that I want. Athlete too, just subtle athlete, just everything you could absolutely. Now, granted, Thomas Morstead, I believe, is
Jugs machine.
Slowly catching up, and I think Shane would even agree with that. And Johnny Hecker is unbelievable. Sam Cook, also very good. There's a lot. There's only like 4 or 5 guys, but in my eyes, Shane Leckler is the GOAT, right? But with that being said, and I tell Shane this, like, yeah, if I had 10 guys running 4.2s covering punts, I mean, you could just hit that thing 95 yards. But that team with all the speed, you know, they lack some things in other areas.
Right,
But there was a couple places where they were awesome. And that was, in my particular world, the special teams day, I was like, you got a guy running a 4.2, you got a guy running a 4.1, and you got linebackers that run 4.4s all blocking and covering for you. You could hit that thing with 1 second hang time, 97 yards, and they're just going to run all the way past all those slow dudes on every other team that are playing linebacker. That they
To your point, you said one of your best gunners ever was Darius Haywood-Bay. Took him with the 8th pick because he was a fast wide receiver.
Bingo. I get one Raider player. And we didn't give up a single yard for the rest of the season in punt. I mean, it's... But Shane Leckler is the GOAT. I do not want that to distract anything because that's just a little shit talk for the guy who is a legend, man. He used to give you a beer on your way out if you played down in Houston. In Oakland, him and Sebastian Janikowski came running over to me as I was a young guy. What's going on, bub?
They're the faces of that team for like 10 years.
They really were.
He was a second-round draft pick, I think.
Yeah.
And Janikowski was a first-round draft. That was awesome. They had to run fast. Hey, those two had to be the fastest.
All day on special teams.
Let's talk about our sponsor, Whoop. Whoop is a fitness wearable that provides daily personalized insights to you on your sleep, recovery, and how much stress you put on your body throughout the day from both your daily activity and the normal stressors of life. I've been using Whoop over the last couple of months to help me train and get ready for my wedding and my NXT debut. Whoop uses your body vitals, specifically your heart rate variability, sleep resting heart rate, and respiratory rate as a baseline to provide you with a recovery score each morning. You can use this source as an indicator for how you should approach your day. They will tell you how much you did yesterday, what you should think about doing today. They basically make you perform at your peak ability because they give you the information that you never knew was even possible, and it's all easily done with one wearable on your wrist. Right now, Whoop is offering 15% off when you use the code McAfee, that's MCAFEE at checkout. Go to WHOOP.com and enter code McAfee to save 15%. Sleep better, recover faster, and train smarter with Whoop today.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
All right, before we get to second hour, let's go ahead and drop in the sidebar, Foxy. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. NFL injury report. Adam Gase is a brilliant mind, says the New York Jets CEO. Pac-12 and Mountain West trying to figure out a schedule now that the Big Ten's playing, and they're the only power conference not playing football. There's NFL games this weekend. Bruce Arians and Tom will talk about that and more. Cincinnati, Cleveland Browns coverage, plus your phone calls early in the second hour. 1-888-MAD-DOG 6. That's 1-888 Mad Dog 6. Can't wait to hear from you. We appreciate the hell out of you. Thursday, September 17th. NFL Week 2 kicks off tonight. Hour 2 kicks off. On the other side of this break, this is the Pat McAfee Show.
Just checking your availability. If you're in Indianapolis now, did you get to Buffalo?
Yeah, I got a plane that's supposed to take me down to game day anyways, so I could definitely have it go to Buffalo first. How long is the flight from Indy to Buffalo? You can find us a plane for like 4 o'clock. I think that'll be perfect.
Yes, we can do is depart around 5:30.
Okay, do we have any other, can you find any other planes that could get us out of here earlier than that? I was just asked if I could appear in Buffalo within the next 4 hours to basically do the show on Fox tonight.
Okay, I'll call you back.
You know what I'm asking for?
Yeah.
All right, so he's going to call Jim Irsay and see if I can just use Jim's jet. He's calling me back shortly, but just start packing.
Hey.
You're the absolute best. Does this sound like a potential yes, you're saying? He's the fucking best. I would be so thankful. Hey, this is really cool. I don't know how many billionaires would do this for people that have worked for them in the past. This is awesome, and I can't thank you guys enough. Can I take a kendo stick to his back?
We'll talk about it when you get here.
All right, I appreciate you, man. Hey, let's break the fucking internet tonight. What a hilarious life. We are live on Fox in 6 hours and 35 minutes. 3 hours of sleep, no clue what the storylines are. Just fucking let the nuts swing, bro. Let's just go out there and have a good time. Plane company. I know. Here we go, boys. All right. Fox SmackDown tonight. This is going to be a night we're going to look back on and remember. And then we're going to hop on a plane and head to Memphis for College Game Day. I think this is a joke too. I just want to let you know, like, this is the Truman Show. I very much understand that this is not supposed to happen. I got the text at 1:42 p.m. today from Mr. H that says, "Have you heard there have been some travel issues? Can you make your way to Buffalo?" Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, literally lent me his plane. Might be the most confident I ever been on in something. I didn't know we were that good of friends, to be honest. I was throwing a Hail Mary, and he responded and said, yeah. So I got here about an hour and a half before the show, and to work with Renee, Tom, and be on SmackDown with a bucket of makeup on my face. This has been a dream come true bucket list type situation here in beautiful Buffalo, New York. Come on, boys. We're going to be on cable.
By Pat McAfee, replacing our guest commentator Aiden English.
No sleeves in, George. Good to see you.
It feels good here in Buffalo. I got a text from the game, a cerebral WWE official. He said, hey, you might have heard about the travel issues. Can you make it to Buffalo? I said, absolutely. What a magical evening it is, November 1st, 2019. I mean, let's be honest. The Marine was a heathen. You know what I mean? He's a great actor. He was great on The Real World. He was great on all of that.
Oh.
Tegan, now
That's how they do it in NXT, baby. Almost took me out holding another grown lady in the air.
November 1st, 2019, greatest SmackDown in the history of SmackDown.
Pat, you joining us? It might absolutely be correct the way things have gone here tonight.
SmackDown in the history of SmackDowns, November 1st, 2019. It's documented. I had a good time out there, man. I had no idea what was happening, so it's really just a natural reaction to everything. That was awesome, dude. That's a real bucket list thing. Game day bucket list. This is like complete bucket list. 2 in 1 week. Oh yeah. With a horseshoe shoved up my ass and a horseshoe owner lending us a plane. Are you kidding me, dude?
Yards into the wind. The first ever hole-in-one for Kevin Stevens. watch one of you be in here. Come on, baby. Is it in there? Yeah. Holy shit. Wait. I'm fucking sick. Let's see your face. Let's see your face. Yeah, hold that ball.
McAfee Show.
There will be no rules for our guests, for us, for the things we could talk about.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions or my thoughts or anything like that.
While being relatable.
I haven't had that manufactured fake-ass celebrity that a lot of people have whenever they go on those big networks. I've had a chance to really build my crew, build my following, build my audience.
And ridiculous.
What am I supposed to do? So I'm supposed to look at something that I can definitely afford and say, nah. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
The Pat McAfee Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Thursday, September 17th. Hour 2 begins right after this drop. Here we go. Zito, at Viva La Zito, had a poll up this morning about tonight's Thursday night football game. The question was, who will stink the most tonight, Zito? What do we have?
Cleveland Browns, 59.6%. Cincinnati Bengals, 13.5%. Refs, 26.9%. And honorably mentioned, OBJ's chest.
Okay, all right. So that's obviously from an alleged story that has turned out, by all accounts, to probably be not true, but good for old Odell Beckham for having that moment. Did not expect the refs to come in second place there.
Very odd.
Because to be honest, I think the refs had an okay opening week. There wasn't that many heartbreakers. I mean, they weren't perfect, obviously. There were some mistakes. What's that, Diggs?
I was going to say it's because they got rid of the rule that made Riveron look terrible every single week.
And by the way, could have been used a few times, a pass interference review. If they had a person who wasn't inept actually looking at it, I think it could have changed some things potentially. But they got rid of that rule so they can get themselves out of the situation of having to listen to me yell every single Monday and Tuesday about how Alberto Riveron is ruining the game of football single-handedly because they put in a rule that his job is just to enforce the rule, not to make the rules. And whenever single time they challenge a pass interference early, you even saw coaches go, listen, this is a waste of a fucking challenge because Alberto Riveron isn't going to change anything that was called on the field because he doesn't believe in this new rule because pass interference is a judgment called by the refs and he doesn't want to take any power away from the refs. So he would obviously disagree with the entire world on numerous occasions until the pass interference review rule was become obsolete and now it's out of the playbook strictly because a man who couldn't make a decision properly, maybe because he didn't see the same angles the rest of the world did every single time, couldn't do it right for just one time.
Yep.
But other than that, I think the refs did pretty good.
Pretty good job.
Pretty good.
They killed it.
Joining us now is a quarterback guru, a man who trained old Joey Burrow, a man who played in the NFL for a long time, and a guy who we haven't talked to since the draft, but we definitely miss over here. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Palmer.
Louder, guys. Remember,
sorry,
I'm a big deal.
it's been a while.
Palmer.
Good closet.
Not bad. Great. What is that? Hats and shoes. Oh, good flex here. I like what you're doing here, Jordan.
I'm also hiding from my kids right now. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and a babysitter, and I'm sitting here going, if I walk in downstairs, I don't have anywhere I can do this interview with Wi-Fi. So I'm in my closet and I'm flexing and I'm talking to you and I'm excited to do both.
Well, your closet looks fantastic. The flat bills look very crispy. The shoes look clean and organized. I'm very impressed by your diverse collection. You have some Air Force Ones up on the top there, some Cole Haans underneath that. It's like your business, your casual, your party, your good time.
Yeah, a lot of APL too. I'm big on the APL game.
Wow. What is that? What is APL?
Oh, APL. These are the shoes. I don't really wear anything other than APLs right now. Yeah, that's the move. A lot of guys in the football world are jumping on it too. So, but thanks for asking. You kind of have like the Chris Sims top button, but you also, I'm assuming, have the Gardner Minshew jean shorts too.
It's over. It's over.
So
both of those are mine, by the way. Actually, the top button was Justin Timberlake first, then old Pat McAfee.
Okay.
Chris Sims just got put on NBC and did it, and then all of a sudden started just claiming it as his own. It's like, whoa, I've never seen you as a human before. I've been doing this a long time. And then Gardner Minshew, legend, sliced and diced the Indianapolis Colts, 95% completion percentage. Relax, Jordan. The Jorts have been... No, like Gardner Minshew, I'm pumped that he is a Jort representative, but I don't think I've ever owned anything other than for 33 years at this point. So a little bit of respect, please, Jordan. Jeez.
No, I love it. And honestly, like that's the best form of flattery. And at the same time,
no, it's not.
No. Oh no. But at the same time, fashion comes full circle. So at some point, that was someone else's thing. If you know what I mean, it's coming back. So
yeah.
But I think in 2020, this day and age, with your platform, dude, you're ahead of it, man.
Well, I might start unbuttoning everything. Maybe. What if I just become? Well, then that's Conor McGregor. That's what Conor McGregor does with his whole shirt completely unbuttoned.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out, Jordan. Let's talk about football. Joe Burrow, okay? You knew Joe Burrow was going to be good. I believe you said since the first time you worked with him, which I believe was like December or something after his junior year, going into his senior year, you said that you just knew that he had something, he had it, whatever it was. And then his senior year at LSU is obviously paramount, monumental, will be talked about for a long, long time as potentially one of the greatest quarterback seasons in college history, probably the greatest season in college quarterback history. Now he goes to Cincinnati, which was an interesting setup because last year they weren't trying to lose every game and they still earned the number 1 overall pick. Haven't been great for a long, long time and nobody knew what the situation was. Last week, Joey Burrow comes in there, starter day 1 with an insane time to come into the NFL with COVID, no OTAs, and he impressed every single human on earth. You knew this was going to happen, and why was it that you knew Joe Burrow was going to be able to transition from college to pros in a pretty efficient fashion and leading a team?
Well, my eye always goes to the same two things, and it's not really physical, arm talent, size, speed, hand size, any of that stuff. It's confidence and it's maturity. Confidence, and you and I have talked about this before, it's got to be self-generated. It has to be independent of the environment, meaning you can't just be confident when everybody around you tells you you're awesome. Like you got to be confident when the world is against you and you have one person to believe in, and that's yourself. So that's Joe's the poster boy for that mentality. But maturity is not, tucking your shirt in and buttoning your top button and cutting your jorts super high and tight. That's not maturity. Okay. Maturity is being in a situation you've never been in before. And you shouldn't really be comfortable and being comfortable and acting like you've been there before. And he did that. I mean, some of these guys like Trevor Lawrence, when he goes to the NFL, Trevor Lawrence was a huge recruit in high school. He had a ton of social media followers then. He's been to the playoffs, and when it's all said and done, 3 times and been up for the Heisman. Like, that's a lot of experience. Joe wasn't. I mean, Joe had one crazy year and all 15 games. When LSU's 9-0, that's the first time they've ever been 9-0. And then they're 10-0, and then they're 11-0. All that's a new situation. And he handled it every single week, very mature. And the whole draft process, he's been mature. We're on Zoom. There is no off season. Well, he just kind of acted like it's not that big a deal, and he's been mature. And so you put him in these situations and he acts like a guy who's been there and done it a long time, and he hasn't. And so I look at him and I go, man, the floor is really, really high, because the only thing he's going to do from here on out is actually get the experience. And so for him to start that way, as far as I'm concerned, he drove down the field, threw a game-winning touchdown to beat a really good Chargers defense. And it was a push-off, got called back, they missed a kick. And so it's not as talked about as it would have been had A.J. Green's touchdown counted and he just started off 1-0.
First game ever, back in your hometown, starting for the Bengals, who have not always been great. Fourth quarter comeback, throws a touchdown to win in your first game. I mean, that is a storybook-like beginning in Cincinnati. And obviously, if it wasn't for the worst cramp they said,
ever.
the worst cramp in the history of professional sports, they probably go to overtime and with that momentum probably carry into a dub. But instead, now they're 0-1. Tonight they go against the Cleveland Browns. Stats tell us that if you go 0-2, you're only like 11%, 12% chance to make the playoffs since like 1990, 13 or 11% since 2002. It's not good to go 0-2. What do you think you're seeing out of tonight, out of Baker, out of Joey Burrow, out of the defenses? What do you think we should expect?
Well, first things first, Baker Mayfield, here's just my opinion, is gonna be a really good quarterback. Everyone needs to pump the brakes here a little bit. He's had 4 coordinators. Last week they only scored 6 points, and I understand missed throws. All that. These guys need a couple weeks here. Tom Brady does. A lot of them do. No preseason, no offseason. Everybody just pump the brakes a little bit here. But Baker has a lot of weapons, and the expectations are really high. I think Stefanski and this system, it's going to take a little bit for everyone to get on the same page and know the spot that they're going to and the tempo at which they need to be there and the timing. It just takes a little bit. So I think we're going to see tonight is we're going to see some mistakes out of Cleveland, and we're going to see some big plays. Out of Cincinnati, I think we're going to see some mistakes, and I think we're going to see some big plays. So I'm excited. I think we've got a better, this Cleveland Browns roster is just a better roster.
Jordan, that answer is a no answer. You just made a no answer. I mean, it made sense why you said it, but that is really what you think. It's just going to be a mixed bag, on both sides.
I do. I think they've got playmakers on both sides of the ball. One roster is a lot better than the other. In Cleveland being better, and I think they're also going to have some mistakes. We're going to see some missed throws. We're going to see some penalties, and I just think that's going to be the story of the first couple weeks of this season. But the real story with this game tonight is you've got Baltimore in this division and you've got Pittsburgh in this division. So I think both of these teams are fighting for something different than maybe a division title or a playoff berth. These guys are fighting to really build a foundation, solidify who that their quarterback is the guy that they want to build around, and then figure out how these organizations are going to really be able to find ways to win, which is what you have to do when you're in a transitional period, as both these teams are.
Hey, pretty important game. There's only like 10 years on the line or something. What do you got, Connor?
Hey, Jordan, what the hell's going on with Jarrett Stidham? And was he inactive last week just in case someone got COVID and he had to start week 2?
I'm not really sure. I think when they made that move to bring in Cam and really cater the offense, and we saw how effective that is, and it's probably going to get even more effective as time goes on, and they'll add wrinkles as Josh McDaniels always does. But I think with a little bit of the injury that he had in, I guess his psoas or his hip, I think they went with Hoyer to be the 2 to back up all the experience that he has, but I think they think a lot of Jarrett Stidham, and look, they ran this whole offseason with him. Preparing him to be the guy. Cam didn't come on the scene till late, and so I think they've got a lot of confidence in him. And he's he's going into he's in his second season, 4th round pick, and so I think they think a lot of him. They're just in a period right now. They're trying to figure out what they can do with Cam, and they're 1-0.
That team, I like them against Seattle this weekend, and that's going to probably come back and bite me in the ass a little bit. But for some reason, I just think Bill Belichick's going to figure it out. That's just how I feel about everything. I look at things like last year, for instance, their offense was trash. Everybody knew it. The defense was carrying them. Special teams was carrying them. And they didn't look like they were a threat to anybody in the playoffs. And every week I was on Get Up. Rex Ryan was like, this team's bad. Dan Orlovsky was like, this team's bad. And I'm like, I'm not saying it because I've been on the other side of that team and lost by like 70, 80 times with a really good team just because Bill Belichick's big-ass brain, Ernie in the sky, Josh McDaniels, and the incredible freak quarterback that Cam Newton is. I just feel like they're going to figure it out. And that's exactly what it appears is happening at the current moment over there.
Yeah, every time they do something, whether they get rid of, a starter, or they bring in Cam Newton, or they draft a guy where you're like, what? I'm kind of always just going, well, I'm curious to see how this becomes the right answer. It always ends up being that, And so they get Cam, I go, this will be awesome. I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but it'll probably result in double-digit wins.
Oh, man.
Jordan, in the most watched game of the week between the Bucs and the Saints, I mean, neither one of those quarterbacks looked great. Tom's in a new offense, and Drew's arm doesn't look like it is what it once was. Do you have any thoughts on both of those players?
Yeah, I think is this the teams that have the most new moving parts are the ones that are going to take the longest. I think it's simple. And Tampa's got a couple new players, but at the quarterback position, at the running back position, at the tight end position, I mean, these are key positions. So they can't be what they're going to be week 5, week 6, week 7. And also remember this, for the last probably decade, New England, I don't know the stats, but New England usually has started slow.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Brady's had a lot of seasons where they're like 1-2, and then they win the Super Bowl. So I don't think he's concerned with anything other than trying to, make the corrections that the mistakes that he made last week, make those corrections and not do that this week. But I don't believe that Drew's arms dropped off. If it has, it's not to a point where it's going to be detrimental or negatively impact. I have them as representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.
It had to be a hot start
Yeah.
for you in your brain and your pick there. But Drew Brees last year got a 5-week reprieve when Teddy Bridgewater came in and went undefeated. And obviously Teddy Bridgewater gets $20 million a year, $25 million a year from Carolina. But Drew Brees at the end of the year, he had a little bit more pop. I'll be excited to see if he doesn't have that 5-week break, what his arm looks like, because I think that is something you have to question. But what I would like to ask you about, since you are a quarterback coach, you coach Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Joey Burrow, and in the past you have a bunch of other quarterbacks as well. You won't say it, but you're a quarterback guru at this point, and you deal with a lot of in between the ears. That's your big thing. You like to view it as a quarterback room. How do I make these guys better? Obviously, we can work on some technique stuff, but everything in professional sports is in between the ears. It's the brain. Tom Brady's brain is an interesting one. He was a late-round draft pick. He's obviously very feisty, very competitive. And in New England, now there's stories rolling out from books and stuff that he didn't like the way he was being treated behind closed doors. His opinion didn't matter. It felt like Bill Belichick would cuss him out in front of the entire team, even in year after 6 Super Bowls and everything like that. His wife allegedly said that they call him Johnny fucking Foxborough around here. There's a lot of quotes coming out. Now we have 1 week in Tampa Bay. And immediately after the game, after Tom Brady just threw 2 picks in his debut in a new home, which everybody on earth is watching. It's the highest rated game they've had in 4 or 5 years or something like that. Bruce Arians says, well, the first pick, Mike Evans ran the right thing, and Tom misread it and threw an interception. And then his second pick, he was slow or whatever, right? And I'm assuming Bruce got that from either Mike Evans, the wide receiver coach, offense coordinator. Somebody told him that. Bruce wouldn't just say that for no reason if he didn't see it. Then the next day he goes, after watching film, actually, Tom was right. The way Tom saw it, and Mike was wrong. And everybody's making a big deal out of this. Is this something, if you're a quarterback, Tom Brady, if you're in his shoes, does he just go, damn, why does this always seem to happen to me and not happen to a lot of other quarterbacks that are at my stature or anywhere near my stature?
Let me tell you a little story. I'll leave the name out, but I was having dinner with one of the owners of an NFL team.
Woo! Wow. I'm eating with billionaires.
Yeah. I told you, I'm a big deal. I told you. So, no, but it was fascinating. And he was basically telling me how he goes, everyone in football thinks in terms of years. This season, last season, next season. He goes, owners think in terms of decades. We don't get caught up on a year. Now, we want to win every year, but we don't get caught up on years. They own the team. Their grandkids are going to own the team. They think in terms of decades. That's always been in my head. And when I think of Tom Brady, the legacy that he has, the legacy he already has, I don't think he thinks in terms of stats or yards or touchdowns or awards. I think he thinks in terms of legacy. So I don't think Tom Brady really cares. And this is just purely my opinion. I don't think he cares what Bill Belichick used to say, what Bruce Arians is saying, whose fault it was on this. I think he's trying to win a Super Bowl. He's trying to do it in Tampa, away from New England, on his own. I think he's thinking in terms of big picture legacy. And this is one of the greatest competitors we've had in American sports history. And so I think he's just literally focused on next week. The whole one game at a time mentality that we've always said is the Patriot way. I don't think that you can deprogram that after 21 years or however long he played there. I think he's literally on to next week and could care less about anything other than improving the mistakes that were made last week and making sure they don't happen again in a way that we've never seen before. The discipline between the ears, all that stuff we can talk about. I just don't think we've seen this in this sport before. Case in point, 6 rings, 9 Super Bowls appearances, and as good a roster as we have in the NFL right now.
Yeah, but think about how boring that is. You know what I mean?
It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks to even think. I didn't even know. I didn't even think of that. That's not, by the way, probably very accurate if I had to guess. I bet you the Tom Bruce thing, because Bruce had to come out and say, he's in a building, we're fine. Yeah. We're moving on. We're both just like whatever. But it's great fodder for us because it is the thought of why did Tom leave New England? And then now it's like, okay, Bill's doing this, Tom's doing this. And it's just as the biggest sport in America, people are going to be intrigued by the greatest dynasty in the history of that sport. And the two GOATs at their respected positions kind of splitting apart. It's like, all right, here we go. Let's see how it goes. We'll be watching along intently. We can't thank you enough for joining us, Jordan. You got a big-ass brain, a big-ass closet, and also a big-ass Rolodex of billionaires that you like to eat with. Congratulations for that.
Yeah.
What owner?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. This is fun.
What owner was it?
I can't say.
Just say the
No,
city.
just say the city the team is in.
No, it was a private conversation, but it was one that I remembered.
Did you buy?
If I don't keep talking right now, you'll keep asking.
Did you buy or did
get it out of me?
Did you buy or did the owner buy?
I was at a wedding.
Oh,
Whose wedding?
Whose wedding? Was it Carson's wedding? Whose wedding?
This is some good trivia. That's going to be a good poll.
All right, Jordan Palmer. Have a good one, bub. Yeah. Believe it or not, I've never had dinner with an NFL owner, but I have had great conversation with an NFL owner. And Jim Irsay, once again, takes over the internet with the best piece of content I've seen today.
Yep.
Him standing with a lifting waist belt on, standing at a bench. I think it could have been a bench or a just open floor squat rack, which he could be potentially doing. I'm not 100% sure. And it has 305 pounds on the bar. And he is giving a motivational speech to Colts Nation, basically about this weekend. And Jim Irsay still is the most electrifying owner in all of sports. And if you don't know Jim Irsay, maybe you only know Jim Irsay from the stories that you hear wherever he gets caught up in trouble and battling his demons and everything like that. Like, listen, that is a guy you should look into a little bit more, Jim Irsay. An absolute legendary human. There he is, just friends. He's friends with the Beatles. He's friends with, Mellencamp. I think Tom Petty and he were friends. In the stories he has lived. That guy has lived. When I retired, I talked to him for what was supposed to be a 10-minute conversation. Turned into an hour and a half in his office. Whoa. He was hitting a vape at the time because I think he was trying to get off cigarettes maybe or whatever. And he would hit this vape and he would talk and smoke would radiate from his face. And he was like, brother Ringo Starr one time. It was the most, I was in there and I was like, I'm in a movie right now. I am in an absolute movie right now. And then the stories just kept coming and I'm like, he might be the most interesting man to ever exist, this guy. And I'm happy he's becoming a little bit more active on social media.
He looks like he's in great shape.
Yeah. He used to be a
svelte right there.
He used to be a power lifter. He used to be an actual power lifter. Like, you can look up that too. There's videos of him. I think I saw a video, and I don't know if it was a public video or if somebody showed it to me like on their phone. They have it like as a VHS or whatever the hell this used to be, and they recorded it. I think he was like squatting like 500 pounds at one point.
Oh my gosh.
Putting it on his bench. owner of a team going into like a powerlifting competition, like at a high school gym here in Indiana somewhere, and just putting up massive amounts of weight, racking them like, yeah.
Is that Jim Irsay? Who the hell is that?
Yeah,
is he the most yoked owner of all time?
Oh, I don't know, because I think the issue with owning a team is normally it takes a lot of time in your life to build up the capital to buy said team. So I don't know how many yoked like billionaires.
Like Jerry ain't loaded like that.
Jerry Jones,
Yeah.
his hands don't get cramped writing checks. He might have the best strength in the hands that anybody's ever seen because of the amount of checks that guy has written. And he's losing $77 million a weekend with the no fans in the stands, they're saying, which is massive. But normally those types of gigs, I think, whenever you're billionaires, I would assume, by the way, your trip to the top to be a billionaire, you have a potential skeleton or 10 in the closet.
Or 100.
You probably
Quite a
pissed
few.
off some people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can dedicate 3-4 hours a day to becoming a monster. I don't know about that. But Jim Irsay is one of my favorite humans walking this earth. And I hope with this particular show, I could potentially change the narrative of some people. I think we're in the process, not just us, but a lot of people. Aaron Rodgers, I think a lot of people are loving Aaron Rodgers after conversations because you learn a little bit about him. I hope Jim Irsay is one of those people where people like look into him and like, this guy used to take a helicopter in the middle of the night to go to a grocery store. Like, what a legend. Imagine him doing that. That was just great stuff. All right, we got to get to a break. Big thanks. Big thanks to old Jordan Palmer calling us from his closet.
Beast.
If you're listening on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, you missed about 75 pairs of shoes behind him and 45 flat bills that all look the exact same but with different colors.
Couple Bills hats.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Big fan of the Bills, huh?
He's a, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Did he play for the Bills too?
I believe he.
Oh, he's
Thought he did a stint.
Tell you what.
He said a lot there about Joe Burrow. He doesn't have a lot of those experiences. Like Trevor Lawrence, much like Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was being called John Elway whenever he was like a freshman in high school. They're like, this is the next John Elway. Super smart, going to go to Stanford. He went to Stanford, did the whole thing. I think Trevor Lawrence is that exact same. Like, I think he's going to live up to the hype too, by the way. Andrew Luck, I think, lived up to the hype that everybody had for him. There's been quarterbacks in the past that haven't, but Trevor Lawrence has been there, done that with everything at this point. And I think he's going to live up to the hype when he makes it to the NFL. What, Joey Burrow was supposed to be a 5th-round draft pick going into his senior year, and then all of a sudden number 1 overall because he takes the world over. He's very new to this, like, being super successful and dominant thing, and he seems like he hasn't changed one bit. He's been the same guy. That is not easy. That is very, very difficult, and I think that's the maturity. I think obviously experiences bring maturity, but like being able to handle massive amounts of success in the right way is not easy. You see a lot of people fall victim to it. And remember, if you watch Draft Day with Kevin Costner,
That's right.
The best quarterback of that draft class, ain't nobody show up his fucking birthday party.
Yeah, can't do it.
Feels
Can't
like Joey
win.
Burrow's loved everywhere. Good for him. He's only going to get better. Tonight we'll find out. 25 minutes into hour 2. Beat drop. We will take phone calls on the other side. Can't wait to chat with you. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, September 17th.
Last night I was roaming around Canal and Bourbon, and there was a lot of purple. And when you get that Mercedes-Benz Dome, and it starts getting loud and it gets rompous, obviously, not only for momentum and swings like that it can help, but for the defensive line to get a jump. I think that is a big deal. A lot of freak athletes on the field, and kickers are a spectacle no matter what happens. Whenever you're in those high-pressure moments, you normally fall back on your fundamentals. You normally fall back on your technique. You try to take your brain out of it. Cade York hits a beautiful ball.
One person at one parking garage.
And think about him warming up right now. There's just 3 dudes in suits breaking down every single move he makes during his warm-up. What a wild scene here for Trevor Lawrence.
Quarterback, number 9, Joe Burrow.
You're supposed to be some draft expert, and you say Joe Burrow was a 5th-round draft pick before this year. Now he's number 1 overall. What do you know? What do you know, Todd?
Tim, you are so handsome, it's ridiculous. What do you think has been happening in this first quarter? Why has Joe Burrow been stumped by this Clemson defense?
I think Brent Venables is the best DC in the country, and it's honestly not a shock to me. He did this to Tua last year.
Odell Beckham just stopped by.
Odell's very excited.
Odell's happy with the 52-yard attempt coming from the kid from Clemson. I've seen Odell make this with a spinning ball. And BT Potter puts it through from 52 in Odell's. Not in your face. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't in your face. You weren't looking at it.
That's a career high for BT Potter.
Bro, imagine Joe Burrow just having to stand in there and know that Isaiah Simmons is scot-free right in your suckle. That's a bad call. No chance Alberto Rivron would turn that over.
He was in the Buccos organization.
McAfee Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Did you hear that little bumpy bump there? Back on radio Thursday, September 17th, here on YouTube and Mad Dog Sports Radio. Wherever you're listening or watching from, we thank you so much. Big thanks to Jordan Palmer and DeQuell Jackson who have joined us thus far. In the next hour, Darius Butler will come on and make us money, I believe. He broke down the quarterbacks for tonight. He had a long time in the NFL, big old brain, playing in the secondary, both corner and safety. Will give us his prop bet pick for quarterback yards tonight, over under. I don't know which quarterback he's picking. I don't know what bet he's picking. Can't wait for us all to hammer that and make some money while watching Cincinnati and Cleveland try to battle to not become 0-2, which basically cement your fate as a non-playoff team if stats from the last 30 years tell us absolutely anything. There's an update out of the U.S. Open, which is currently happening. Day one of the U.S. Opening teed off this morning, very early. What is the update over there, Tom?
Justin Thomas is leading at -5, and then Tiger was looking good. He was -1 heading into 13, and then he shot 4 over in those last 5 holes there.
Well, that'll happen in U.S. Open. We said it the other day. The U.S. Open sets a course up to make the professional golfers, the best in the world, look like amateurs. And the golfers will always hate it. You'll see some people withdraw from the tourney. You'll see some people take some big old hacks at the USGA for setting up the course the way they set it up. But for us watching along, it's like, hey, you're going to see some guys potentially hit 8s out there. You're going to see guys that golf better than you will ever think about golfing, putting up scores near what you put up. So go ahead and watch U.S. Open because it's very relatable. I think that should be their marketing pitch. Yeah. The internet right now, Zito, is reacting how to this show that is obviously a terrible, terrible show.
No. I sent some feelers out there, and actually a guy from Estonia.
Oh, good place.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Estonia. Yeah. There is a movie reference to Estonia somewhere.
War dogs?
Encino Man?
It was the city, not the country.
Estonia. There's something in there, though, Estonia. Tell them I said hello.
Yeah, he said 2 thumbs up.
I wish I had one more hand so I could give this show 3 thumbs down.
Everyone's saying, though, banger of a show, 10 out of 10.
No, that's nice. We have some thumbs down. By the way, if we get to 4,000 likes, we'll give a 20% off the entire store. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, let's go to Travis in Michigan. What's going on, Travis, up there in the mitten?
Oh, nice. Ypsilanti.
I believe. Oh, there's no service up there. He doesn't even know.
Travis.
He just hung up. Literally just hung up.
Good luck, Travis.
Let's go to George over there in Ohio. Tonight we have the Don't Suck Bowl between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns in Ohio. George, what do you got there, pal?
What it do? Hey, shout out to the boys.
Shout out.
Thanks, dude.
Hey,
Shout out.
Hey, got a question about your former teammate. Seeing if you had any cool stories about this guy. A player not talked about much. Player I tried to emulate. An absolute behemoth of a man and monster. Standing at 6'3", 260 pounds, fullback Owen Schmidt. You have any good stories about this guy?
The runaway beer truck, Owen Schmidt. Hell yeah, that guy. Whenever I was playing at West Virginia, I just so happened to go to West Virginia at the exact right time to be a football player.
Yeah.
I rode the coattails of an incredible football team to situations that I shouldn't have been in, and obviously just awesome. Morgantown, West Virginia was potentially the greatest place on earth to be for like 3.5, 4 years if you like to have a good time and celebrate things, because we were winning a lot. The basketball team, that was when Pitt Snoggle, Deshaun Butler, all the guys, they were very good. We were having a blast in there. And the football team that I got to ride the coattails of, a lot of people know Pat White, the quarterback, most electrifying college football player I've ever seen, does not get talked about nearly enough. Running back Steve Slayton, who had a scholarship to Maryland until I think the day of signing day, or maybe a week before signing day, they pull his scholarship. We somehow get him at West Virginia. Pat White, Steve Slayton, both freshmen at the same time as I was, and I was not prepared to win as much as they were at the time, and we just took people over. And a person that is not talked about, because Pat and Steve were so good, and then Noel Devine joined us, and Darius Renaud was unbelievable. We had a lot. Owen Schmidt was the fullback that we used to give the ball to, because whenever you're running a spread type offense where your quarterback is making somebody make a play on the end. The end either has to come to him, and if he comes to him, cool, we're pitching this to Steve, and Steve's faster than you guys are, so we're going to pick up at least 15 yards, probably a touchdown. Then if you try to take away the pitch, you try to take away Steve, okay, Pat's faster than everybody too. He's going to take it. But the thing that really made our offense tick was every once in a while we'd hand the ball off inside to this massive white dude. Massive, 6'3", 260. He used to be able to hang clean like 400 pounds, I think, at one point. Just a monster of a man. And he would just rumble. And if it was any other run where we weren't running the option outside, Owen used to just road grade people. It was awesome to watch. His story is a magical one, too. I think he was playing D3 football. He did well his freshman year. Then he walked on at West Virginia. He had to work at it as a bouncer at a club to make money to basically pay for his tuition. Then he gets a scholarship at West Virginia. Then he kind of takes over the world, and I got a chance to drink plenty of beer with that man, and I absolutely love Owen Schmidt. A great Owen Schmidt story didn't even involve me being around it. Now, anybody knew if you're around Owen Schmidt, you're going to have a good time. Owen Schmidt and I feel like West Virginia, we were top 5 every year basically for our football team, and we were voted number 1 party school. And I think Owen and I, and plenty of others on our team, would like to hopefully stake claim that we're on both teams. Like we helped both teams there. And Owen was a good time, but Owen punted for us every once in a while whenever we were in college. And there was one game where he went to punt. And he hit a shank, right? And he was an athlete. He could punt very well. So instead of like the quarterback pooch with Pat White or me coming in and having a pooch at like 27 yards, if we were in a terrible wind or something and we just wanted to go ahead and knock it down there, the thought was Owen Schmidt would do it. The first time he did it, he mishit it, hit off the side of his foot. Happens to literally every single punter, so it's not just Owen had a bad one. Owen was so mad at himself, right? Because he was so good at kicking balls and he got a chance to prove it again. He smashed himself with his helmet, right? And that became a talking point for everybody. He was like, oh, he is upset or whatever, right? And then a couple years later, when Owen gets drafted in the NFL, he goes to the Seattle Seahawks. For his first start, okay, they introduce him out of the tunnel. And Owen is a man who is a guy, whenever he shows, you get hyped when Owen Schmidt is around. He's just an awesome guy. He comes out of the tunnel, they're blowing smoke, and he takes that helmet, which is a move that he has done before, and he starts bashing the helmet off his head. So obviously, Seattle Seahawks 12s, they go ape shit, bananas. The place is going crazy. He jogs out. He's obviously bleeding though, right? You see him bust this thing open, which by the way makes the crowd go even more crazy. So his intro was like a wrestling intro, did everything it was supposed to do. He comes out, had to get stitches, actually missed the first play. So he didn't start. But Owen is legend. Just one of the greatest humans that is in characters who's potentially ever existed. He played in a rock band for a while. I mean, just
rock band the game or a real
real rock band. He used to be able to shred. I mean, he's awesome.
Was Mr. Hasselbeck his quarterback?
I don't know. I think Hasselbeck was before that, I believe.
Nickname was the Runaway Beer Truck, did you say?
The Runaway Beer Truck. Yeah, and he lived up to the hype, too. He was awesome. Owen Schmidt. A name that should be talked about in football lore. I'm happy old George brought that up from Ohio. I thought we were going to talk about the Bengals or potentially the Browns. Me too. But instead we just dove deep into a legend factory, which is what Owen Schmidt is. Let's go to Zach in Canada. What's going on up there, E?
Hasselbeck was there.
Hey, what's going on?
His stories.
Man, so, hey, there's no service. Tell the moose to move, hey?
Pat, what's up?
Hey, there you go. Turn the direction of the antlers there, pal. What do you want to talk about?
I had to point east.
Hey,
I want to talk about the Washington football team.
Okay, let's talk about them.
Okay, right now, I'd say they're almost a playoff team, but I think they're like one position upgrade away from making it. Like, we look at the Browns, they're QB away.
Oh, no.
What are the Redskins, or one of the football?
You start pacing.
Yeah.
Start pacing. Moose, out of the moose, into the moose.
Maybe it's snowing up there now.
He's saying they're one position away at the Redskins, or the Washington, oh, geez, terrible guy. Washington football team to make them, I did not mean to do that. Las Vegas Raiders, too. Have a little respect. They just built a $7 zillion thing in the middle of the desert that is black out there. It is going to be hot. It is going to be hot in there. That place is going to be awesome, by the way. Yeah. But the Washington football team, they got 5 first-rounders on that defensive line. Dwayne Haskins, I think, is going to be a great football player. You got Ron Rivera. They have a good kicker. I know that. They have a great punter in Tress Way. The defense, what, linebacker, secondary? What is
secondary? Because they have two. They have good young wide receivers and Terry McLaurin. I can't remember that dude's name, but secondary probably.
Landon Collins, pretty damn good.
By the way, a winning culture is also something that has to be established. Like those close games. There's these teams that are like kind of young, and there's teams that are young that go and they win every close game. Like for instance, Andrew Luck seemed to win whenever he was a rookie first couple years. Every close game, we were winning somehow. I don't know how, but we just had the makeup of a team that would win those close games. There's some teams that are young that don't know how to win, like don't know how to close out games, don't know how to continue to do that. I don't know if the Washington football team's that because they were down 17, they came back and won in the second half. But I think establishing a winning culture, sometimes it comes easy, sometimes it takes a while. The fact that they were able to come back being down 17 and play the way they did in the second half, with Ron Rivera having to get an IV at halftime and the entire franchise changing its name, 3 weeks before the season starts, the building burning. I have a lot of faith in the Washington football team, to be honest. And I think if you've been a Washington football team fan for a long, long time, I think you're pretty excited because you look around, Cowboys always going to be very talented, but you just got to hope that your team can beat them on 2 occasions throughout the season. Philadelphia Eagles always get hurt somehow.
Yeah.
Literally, maybe the most injury-ridden team in the NFL for the last few years. Maybe ever.
Yeah.
To be honest, maybe ever. And then you got the Giants who are going through a rebuild, it feels like, with a great quarterback and a great running game. Mr. Mansouri, who's a Giants fan, doesn't like to hear that, but it sure feels like that's what they're doing. And if that isn't a rebuild, they should have done a rebuild maybe a year or two ago in that offensive line that's going to get Danny Dimes killed. That's why Danny Dimes had to put on 45 pounds of muscle this offseason. But I think they're going to be good. But if you're a Washington football team fan, I think you're pretty pumped up about what you got going on over there. And I do think Dwayne Haskins is.
I think he's going to be good.
I think he's a guy.
Halftime speeches. I mean, come on.
Last year, beginning of the season, I didn't love the way he operated. I think Case Keenum was playing, and and Dwayne Haskins was nowhere near Case Keenum on the sideline or anything like that. And I was like, well, the reason why they don't have you starting yet is because they want you to learn like how the game goes, how a starter goes, how somebody's been around. And then he got in the game. And I was like, yeah, forget it. The guy can play football. I guess he's just going to go ahead. Maybe he's paying attention often in a different fashion as opposed to being over the guy's shoulder. But once he got on the field, they became a problem for people. And although they didn't win a lot of games, they should have beat the Packers at one point last year.
Yep.
They did. And now that we're hearing how the building was running, it's like, I'm surprised they were even in games there for a bit.
Yeah, it's got to be a fresh start for him because there was the whole thing with Dan Snyder wanting him to start, but Gruden didn't really want him to start. He wanted Keenum, so it was just kind of weird in the locker room and everything. But when he actually does play and get some time back there, he's pretty damn good.
Oh, man. I think they're going to be – I don't want to say it.
Oh, come on.
I don't want to say it.
Those young teams, too.
I don't know anybody in that building. I don't know a single person on that team. Like, I don't know anybody in there. So, I mean, I can't just be like – and Ryan Kerrigan, I tried to get to know him yesterday. There's no chance getting to know that guy.
Yeah, the guy, too.
I mean, he's an incredible football player, but there was – I mean,
loves the football.
I tried to talk to him. There was just no breakthrough there. And that's 100% on me, I'd assume. Or maybe. I don't know. But I don't know anybody over there. So I can't just be like send a text like, hey, you guys got to feel pretty good about what's going on.
Well, Jason Wright.
Jay Wright.
Oh, yeah. Maybe just text the president.
He said, text me anytime.
Hey, Ron's been on the show, too.
Who?
Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah. He does have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right now. Oh, by the way, you have to change an entire culture. The team doesn't have a name. You're now the head coach for a team with no name. It felt good to get out of the rain. There's an expo, say coming from the post, and you gotta hum, nobody reads it out loud. Football team. Oh, and by the way, you're also going to have to beat cancer while doing all that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Ron Rivera's plate. I'll text him, though. See if he's really feeling good over there. Let's go to Lazaro Diner in Houston. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Pat and the boys? Shout out to y'all.
Hey, shout out to you as well. Great voice. Like the voice here of Lazaro. What do you want to talk about, brother?
First thing before I ask my question, I was actually deployed back in July. I just came back in July, and you and the boys have helped me mentally and to get through my deployment. It was a 10-month deployment because of COVID.
Well, hey, we appreciate you, Lazaro. Hey, while you're out there being an American badass, we'll say dumb things into a microphone, and we appreciate the hell out of you for that. Welcome back home. Stay safe, all that stuff. Let's get to it. What do you want to chat about, brother?
So I'm a Texans fan, and Billy O. Bitch Tits, if he doesn't produce in the next 6 games, he's going against the Ravens, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Jags, the Titans, and then the Packers.
Oh.
If he doesn't execute anything, do you think he'll be on the hot seat?
Great question, Lazaro. Thank you for your service. But he's the general manager and the head coach. So if you fire him, you're firing 2 positions that you have to find in the middle of the season. So maybe hot seat for off season if they don't do that. But you got to remember, they just made the playoffs last year, had a pretty good run. He has things that if he was to get put on the stand by the owners down there, he would be able to say, excuse me, we made the playoffs, we lost to the Kansas City Chiefs who are a Super Bowl. Then we did this, then we did this. I don't know if Billy O'Brien is getting run out of town anytime soon. I think last year, after giving up a 20-plus lead in the playoffs, I thought that was potentially a chance. Like, hey, this team seems to always underperform and not be able to do exactly what everybody thinks they're going to be able to do. I think that was the time maybe for him to think he was going to be gone. But then like a week later, he named himself general manager. So it was like, wow, that's not going to happen. Yeah. That's not going to happen. So I don't know if he's on the hot seat or not. I do think he is in the process after trading away Nuke for, a bag of peanuts almost.
Dave Johnson.
Lemonade. Getting David Johnson, who looks very good.
Yeah.
But you got rid of arguably top 2 wide receiver, top 3 wide receiver in the game or whatever at the time. So I think Bill O'Brien's got some time. I think they've told him he has some time. Deshaun Watson's his guy. They're going to move forward. But that Houston Texans team always has a chance. They always have a chance. And then, but do you think they'll make a full run at that thing? In the AFC, I'm just not 100% sure. I'm just not 100%. So, Lazaro, I appreciate you for your service, but this might be a little bit longer than you would like to see in this entire thing.
And after that Irsay video, the Colts are going to rattle off 15 straight wins.
It would be great. It would be great if that motivated the boys to win games.
Sure will, right?
And stop offense. I talked to Darius Butler, who we will be talking with here in like 30 minutes or so, like maybe 20 minutes actually, about his pick tonight for quarterback yardage, Joey Burrow or Baker Mayfield. He was in his lab watching film this morning when I talked to him. Yeah, he's dialing in. He wants to give us a lock. I appreciate him for doing that. He told me, because I asked him, I was like, hey, why is this Colts defense not why were they not able to stop Gardner Minshew? I didn't know anybody on the team. Why weren't they able to do? He said it seems like they're like nobody's really attacking. It's like a kind of a laissez-faire type defense. I think after watching that Jim Irsay hype speech with 305 pounds on the bar, I think that defense is going to be flying around hunting. Jim Irsay might have just won the Colts a Super Bowl. A man who's probably not going to win the team he works for a Super Bowl, Adam Gase.
Nope.
Adam Gase is such an interesting character because he is the coach now of a team that has the largest media market, obviously. Now, COVID has made everybody kind of leave New York, but there is a lot of chatter about the Jets and Giants, regardless of how they are. And whenever you become the head coach of the Jets and you don't have success, there's going to be people that are going to talk massive amounts of shit on you publicly. This morning, one of the largest Jets fans in the history of the New York Jets, a man who is in 2 Hall of Fames for his radio and broadcasting capability, who has been a loyal, diehard Jets fan, absolutely flamed Adam Gase, and I think we should listen to it here.
So the acting owner of the Jets thinks Adam Gase has a brilliant offensive mind. To that, I reply, what on earth could possibly have given you that impression? There is certainly no evidence that it's true. What there is, in fact, is overwhelming evidence that the exact opposite is true. Consider that in no season that Peyton Manning was not his quarterback did any of Gase's teams ever finish in the top half of the league in scoring.
Geez.
The last 3 seasons, in fact, they finished 28th, 26th, and 31st.
Wow.
That's in a 32-team league.
Oh, 32.
In 17 games under Gase, the Jets have scored 33 touchdowns, and they've punted 93 times.
I like that.
For the brand.
They have scored on 24% of their possessions. That's the worst in the league. They've gone 3 and out on 44%. That's the worst in the league.
Oh, again.
Their average drive has gained 23 yards.
What's that?
All of those are the worst in the NFL. But wait, there's more.
The entire
When the Jets acquired Le'Veon Bell, he had averaged more total yards per game than any player in history ever.
Still doing it?
Under the brilliant offensive mind, Bell is 27th in the league in yards per game.
That's quite a
And there's
fall.
one more, just so you know, this is not just my fandom talking.
There's more?
Under Gase in Miami, Ryan Tannehill was so bad, the Dolphins traded him for mid-round draft picks, and they chipped in $5 million just to get rid of him. Then in his first year in Tennessee, away from Gase, Tannehill had the 4th highest passer rating in history and led the Titans to the AFC title game. Those are all facts. They happened. And they beg one big question, Christopher Johnson.
Yeah?
If the coach has a brilliant offensive mind, what in the world's he doing with it?
Oh, shit. That's legend Mike Greenberg from Get Up this morning, which is his show, which I believe I'll be on tomorrow.
Hey.
Big shout out to Greeny having me on the show, Mignona. I thank you, brother. Can't wait to chat with you. That is a lot of stats that, by the way, we wouldn't have looked up or had enough. I shout out to Hembo, I'd assume, over there at ESPN for looking up those stats. That's a real thing, though. And we've been on that train rather long over here, just from an outside looking in, because we saw what Adam Gase did down in Miami. Then you account for all of the players that played so well after he left. That wide receiver that he was benching and not a scratch, he got paid $30-some million from the Dolphins as soon as he leaves. Tannehill becomes, like he said, best quarterback almost in the NFL immediately upon leaving Adam Gase's umbrella. Then Adam Gase goes up to the Jets, and it's not his fault. Quarterback gets mono. An adult quarterback got mono. They start playing insurance salesman, so he has a little bit of a reprieve. Everybody's like, oh, he doesn't have anybody. He doesn't have anybody. But now that Darnold's been back, and they got Le'Veon Bell there, who he didn't want to bring in. The previous GM wanted to bring in, but you got a guy who's a weapon if he wants to play still. Who knows if he does, because he did take a year wrapping down in Miami in the offseason there when he held out from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's a weapon, and it just feels like that team stinks so bad. And Greeny, who's a diehard Jets fan, just laid out all of the reasons why. But if the Jets president and CEO, Chris Johnson, is saying this guy's a brilliant mind, should that person be in charge then with everything that we just heard? Or is that person just sticking up for their coach because the entire world is saying everything that Greeny just said, that this guy stinks and they got no hope? And we can assume that the locker room is hearing that as well. And the locker room is potentially at the point where they're like, hey, I know we're not saying it in here, but what everybody else is saying out there, they're right. This guy stinks. It does feel like he stinks. And then the rumors that come out about the way he answers things and the way he says things, it's just like, oh, so he's not a humble guy at all. Which, by the way, don't have to be to be a head coach. You can do whatever you want, coach however you want to coach. But, boy, there's not a lot of success behind Adam Gase in anything that happens with him.
And when your best player, too, is doing everything he can to get out of that organization and leave, that's a terrible look as well with Jamal Adams.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Jamal Adams wanting the hell out of there, driving around in his G-Wagon in front of a grocery store. Somebody saying, come to the Cowboys. Saying, I'm trying, man. Like he's trying to get out of there. I mean, that is a tough look. And Rex Ryan won games for the Jets, and he got ran out of town. Right. So I don't even know how long this is going to last. But when you got Greeny turning like that, who is normally pretty optimistic about the Jets, that is a wild time to be alive.
Well, that's what makes no sense is in New York, there have been people who have performed much better and been much more like receptive to like the media than Gase, and they get, like you said, they get run out of town. Like he's such a horse's ass, not only to his players, obviously, but to the media. It's just like, why do they want to keep this guy around?
Well, I can see how a coach gets sick of the media, by the way. And if your local media is also the largest media in the country, which New York local media is, you could see how one bad day with a local media person could turn into problems for you because there's a lot of you're in a fishbowl whenever you're in New York. But like Matt Patricia, that answer he gave the other day was maybe the best answer I've ever heard a coach give. Great question. Did you know that I have like the biggest coaching call in the history of fourth quarters basically in the NFL? So why don't you go ahead and back the hell off, fella? That's basically what it said. And if you're a Lions fan, you got to watch that and go, you know what? This guy's going to turn it around for us. Ain't that right, Foxy?
I don't know, Pat. I like his confidence. I love his confidence. But we got the Green Bay Packers with literally all of our DBs are injured. So Rodgers might throw for 500, and then the Cardinals look good. We start 0-3. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Good season,
Fox.
The Jets are in a bad spot with the next couple games they have. The Lions have a couple tough games. And we've been reading these stats. It is not a good thing to go 0-2 in the NFL.
Rodgers is literally going to throw for 500 yards. I want Darius Butler. I'm going to ask Darius Butler, can you suit up for the Lions? Because we have three starters out with hamstrings.
Really?
It's not good.
Yeah. It's not good at all. I'll tell you what is good, though. Thank you, please. I would like a little bit of sound while I tell you about tobacco-free alternate pouches that can take you out of the pouch tobacco spitting game.
Hell yeah.
There's a lot of people that chew. They've chewed for a long, long time. People get addicted to it. They think it's cool. Then all of a sudden, nicotine takes over and bad things start infiltrating your body via your mouth. And it's not only the nicotine and the terrible things that you're addicted to. It's also the habit that you're addicted to of having something in your mouth and then promptly finding a bottle or a spittoon or maybe just the grass and going... It's still an addiction. The habit is. So it takes a lot of people a lot of time to get out of that, and they can't find anything to replace the thing that's terrible for your mouth with something that can still satisfy the while not doing the terrible stuff to your body. Yeah. Insert Cannadips CBD pouches. It's a CBD dip that fits in your mouth just like the tobacco pouches without all the bullshit that come with tobacco. Tobacco-free pouches from Cannadips CBD is the one way to get yourself out of a terrible, terrible habit. Ty, you used to be a pouch chewer. Now you're Cannadips CBD every single day. What is the reason why, and how does it taste when you have it in there?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. You know, it's the oral fixation thing. That's the toughest thing to get rid of. You're used to having a jaw in there, and the Cannadips, they work perfectly, and they do taste delicious as well.
CannadipsCBD.com. Use promo code LIPBOOMERS for 15% off your order of tobacco-free pouches. That's CannadipsCBD.com. Promo code LIPBOOMERS for 15% off your order. Shout out to Cannadips CBD. They got a lot of flavor. They got CBD in there, which make your body feel better. Everybody's seen the research and results of what CBD does. CannadipsCBD.com. Promo code LIPBOOMERS. Let's change a habit. On the other side of this break, we have AJ Hawk joining us, the legend. He's doing a show with Urban Meyer tonight. I can't wait to talk to him about that. Yeah, he's got something going on. We also have Darius Butler, longtime NFL safety and corner, to break down the game tonight and what we should be hammering in quarterback yardage over under. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, September 17th. We'll take more of your calls in a third hour as well. We'll see you then. Let me tell you a little story about these statistics. Troy Polamalu, okay? Fucking Troy Polamalu. So we had a fake for the Pittsburgh Steelers that was a 100%er. We didn't even have a cancel the goddamn play because it was a 100%er. If we ever end up in this situation, inside the 7-yard line on the left hash, it is a 100%er that the C gap will be wide open and we will just part the C to the left. It'll be a touchdown. 100%er. We're playing in Pittsburgh, the city I grew up in. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I won the punt, pass, and kick national championship, AJ. National championship, AJ.
Congrats.
AJ, did you ever win the national championship, punt, pass, and kick?
I think I got 3rd or 4th out of 4 at the Nationals.
I'm proud of you, man. Anyways, so we're there in that stadium, okay? A lot of McAfee's in there. A lot of McAfee's in Pittsburgh. I'm going to score my first fucking touchdown, night game, Sunday Night Football, I believe it was, right here, touchdown. We get into that situation, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is really going to happen. We're like on the 6, on the left hash. It's 4th and goal now. Field goal team's jogging on. I'm like, well, fuck, it's about to, I'm ready. I am ready for this to happen. So I get out there. I get down. Vinny's like happy for me. Vinny's like very excited. He's like, let's fucking go. Like Vinny's excited for me at this moment. I'm like, here we go. So I make the call. I forget what it was. So I start saying it, right? And everybody's looking at me like, okay, bright eyes. Here we go. Let's get after it. Offensive linemen are dead ass tired. They do not want to be in the middle of a field goal anyways. So they're just like, all right, I don't give a fuck if you die here, but this should work. Let's get some points. And all of a sudden, I go through my cadence, I call it, I get down, and Troy Polamalu's fucking ass goes ahead for however long his career was at this point. I think it was like 9 years or 8 years at this point. Not a once has he ever gone to this side of the field over here to the left and stood right in the C gap. Never. He lined up exactly where he had lined in film 100% of the time. And then as soon as I got to like the second cadence right before set, he just bounced his little ass right over to the C gap. And I like stopped everything I was doing and I literally just looked at him. And I gave him like a, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, why are you there right now? And then I stood up and said, we are kicking it. We don't have it. We have to kick it. We are kicking this. And then I get down, and Vinatieri kicks it, and I jog off the field. And Chuck Pagano comes running up next to me. He's like, hey, good job. What'd you see? I said, what did I see? Polamalu just fucking went right into the goddamn C gap. What did I see? What did I see? And he goes, okay, sounds good. Good call then. And good call then. And then Vinatieri's like, hey, way to go, buddy. I'm like, way to go? Are we not going to talk about how big of a fucking asshole Troy Polamalu is for what just happened right there? So that's...
I saw the angel of death waiting for me in the C gap.
It's unbelievable. What, you thought I was going to run him over? No way. He's probably going to strip me and score a touchdown the other fucking. That's Palamalu, bro. That ain't just your backyard football with your son. These are professional fucking athletes. He'd probably jump over the lineman, pick me up, and run me into the other fucking end zone if he wanted to. That's what he would have done.
The hard-hitting safety of his generation, too. I mean, Ed Reed, great cover safety. I don't know that you would have feared him, but
Ed Reed, I would have feared Ed Reed. Yeah, if I saw Ed Reed in that C-gap, absolutely. E.D. Reed, boy, the best safety you ever seen, boy. I ain't doing shit to Ed Reed.
No, Ed Reed would have made the tackle. I'm saying that Polamalu would have shaved years off your life.
Oh, my God.
This is the Pat McAfee Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82.
Oh, little serious bump there, Mad Dog Channel 82. It is an honor to be joining you. It is also an honor to be joined by a man who's a Super Bowl champion, a national champion, an all-around great guy. And tonight he'll be doing a show with Urban Meyer. Ladies and gentlemen, AJ Hawk.
Good lighting.
What's up? Yeah, I'm doing I think it's like a live podcast type thing that Urban's going to be doing every Thursday night from his, I guess it's called Urban Meyer's Pine House, I think it is.
Okay, quick question. So will we be able to watch this live? And what are you asking Urban Meyer? Is Urban Meyer asking you questions?
No, he's just, I think there's 4 or 5 of us. It's a thing they're going to do, and they're going to talk about like Bengals Browns tonight, whatever's going on with Ohio State, whatever's going on with college football.
Nope.
I have no idea. I assume we're just going to go back and forth with each other.
The boat. We need to hear about the boat.
Yeah. Will you be fully clothed?
Yeah. Will you be wandering around the background shirtless and on a boat potentially?
You know what? So Anthony Schlegel is going to be on the show with me. I think he's doing it every Thursday. I bet I can talk Schlegel into recreating the Urban guy with no shirt thing. And I think Schlegel could easily be the dude with no shirt on in the background. So, you know what? Honestly, you texted me something last night about this, Pat. I lost a few hours of sleep trying to figure out how I'm going to work this in.
As soon as I saw you put out a tweet that said like at Urban's Pint or whatever it's called. I like that the guy has a bar, by the way. I like that he's doing that. And they're doing Urban's Pint House. There's a lot to break down with Coach and the guys. As soon as I saw that tweet, I was like, oh my God, AJ's going to be talking. I sent you a text. I said, are people going to be recording this? Are we going to be able to record this? And you have to ask about the boat. You have to ask about the boat. And AJ responded with like, I think you laughed or whatever. I don't know how you fit that in, especially at a place that he owns on his show. That is going to be pretty difficult. But if you can make it happen, that'll be magical.
It would be amazing. And I texted him after it happened, and I asked like, so I I thought it was a specific guy in the background. I just asked, was it this guy in the background? And all he said was, haha, no. And that's all. That's the most we've interacted about this situation. So maybe I just got to put him on the spot, I guess, while they're doing a live show.
By the way, makes me like Urban Meyer a lot more if he was just out there getting after it on a boat, partying with his friends. And they're like, is there any way you could potentially talk right now about what's going on with the Big Ten? He's like, yeah, I guess I could. No problem. I'll just go in here. And then one of his friends is like, Urban! Oh. And then there's a reflection of him in the back. It makes me respect him and makes him more relatable. If you can fit it in, you fit it in. Tonight, big matchup over there in Ohio. You played for the Bengals. You grew up in an area around Cincinnati. You still currently live around the Cincinnati area. What do you think about the evening? Joe Burrow's got a big test in front of him with this Cleveland Browns team. Myles Garrett off the edge. They're a little bit banged up. How do you feel the night's going to go, and what are you looking forward to most, Mr. A.J. Hawk?
Well, I'm looking forward to a team. Like, these are two teams that could be going on different paths. I mean, the Bengals, look at the Bengals. Tons of hope. Joe Burrow, I think for the most part, people were really impressed by his performance week one. Baker Mayfield, not so much. People are worried that they're worried that they're the same old Browns, aren't they? And so I think tonight,
jeez, dude.
But
Same
when I
old
say
Brownies.
Jeez.
What?
Same old Brownies.
Same old Brownies.
No, I don't think it is. I think tonight this is a pivotal game for the Browns. I know it's only week 2. I think the Browns find a way to get it done. And so you're showing me the line. The Browns are 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, the Browns are minus 6.5 tonight. The Bengals plus 6.5. That is quite a spread there. And that's a lot of points for old Joe Burrow, who don't let Joe Burrow hang around. Joe Burrow's going to make a play. And if it wasn't for, we've said this a couple times now, the worst cramp in the history of professional sports is what some doctors are calling it for Randy Bullock. They go to overtime and probably get a win. They're probably 1-0 right now. And we're talking about how Joe Burrow has one of the most legendary first games in the history, but instead it's complete opposite. Can't go 0-2 tonight against the Brownies on Thursday Night Football.
No, you can't. Hey, what do you think? Like, I didn't realize that the Browns would be that much of a favorite. I thought it would be almost like a pick'em game.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what anybody sees in these things. And that's why sports gambling is always such a joke. You can get hot. You can get hot for sure. And we have been hot, by the way. I mean, my Super Boost last week, the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, it didn't hit because Phillip Rivers didn't know what was going on. Joe Dirt was fucking unbelievable. I mean, did we test Joe Dirt the day after the game down there for that pick he made on Phillip Rivers? And Gardner Minshew, he looked like Shane Falco out there all of a sudden out of nowhere, living out of his boathouse or whatever the hell it is. I mean, it was unbelievable what the Jaguars looked, but that's what gambling is. Hey, that's gambling,
baby.
Gambling, baby. I like the Bengals plus 6.5. I really do like the Bengals plus 6.5. And tonight on FanDuel, there's a 47 plus total points scored in Bengals versus Browns. Max bet $50. That's boosted to plus 170. Nick Chubb to score the first touchdown of the game versus the Bengals, plus 680 at this point. So if you bet $100, you win $680.
Ooh, like that.
There's a major boost going on tonight. There's going to be a lot of action, I'd assume, on this game, but nobody has a clue what the hell is going to happen because we don't know anything about these two teams, especially after 1 week of bad football.
Do we know anything about any teams after 1 week?
Kansas City Chiefs, still Kansas City Chiefs.
Very good.
Okay. Bill Belichick, big old brain still to this day.
Ravens.
Ravens are very good. Lamar Jackson is still going to be able to do what he did last year to teams. It feels like. We don't know if that's just the Browns or if that's the Ravens. But aside from that, the Arizona Cardinals are back. Yep. San Francisco 49ers are banged up. Richard Sherman's on the IR for at least 3 weeks. George Kittle's not practicing. They're in trouble. But other than that, everything is just a complete crapshoot.
Don't let Rodgers get
Rodgers
hot.
is the best QB.
Aaron Rodgers is playing good football, and he's having great performances on Tuesdays on Mad Dog Channel 82.
The Jets still stink.
And the Jets stink, yeah. Well, do you know, what are your big takeaways about teams that we know?
Well, I think something that we talked about on the show maybe yesterday or before, first-year head coaches struggle, right?
Yeah,
out the gate. That was an issue. Let's see if that continues to struggle or they can right the ship. I wanted to ask Foxy, so with the Packers, they're playing the Lions this week. You would think on paper this sets up beautifully for Devontae Adams, for Aaron, for all his receivers, for all the backs out of the backfield, catching
AJ.
balls and also running. Like, how does Foxy feel about the matchup?
AJ, Aaron Rodgers is about to throw for 650 yards guaranteed. We have 3 of our best DBs. They're out for the game. It's going to be absolutely terrible. We're going to go 0-2. And Pat started off the show by saying, if you go 0-2, you only have a 12% chance to make the playoffs. Lions have no shot. I'm just going to be straight up honest.
They go down 88% their chance to make the playoffs.
There's no chance.
If they lose this weekend against a very hot Aaron Rodgers, who only said it's only one game. It's only one game. Okay, you were throwing lightning bolts out of your hands. To talk about the passing game tonight and to give us a lock on a quarterback prop bet of passing yards for both Baker and Joe Burrow tonight, to give us one sure lock and his prediction for the game. A man who played corner and safety for a long time in the NFL, one of the biggest brains in the history of the NFL on the field. Ladies and gentlemen, Darius Butler.
Fellas, what's up?
Yeah. Are you in a studio right now? You look like you were in a sports book yourself.
Yeah, man. I'm at home, man.
That's your house.
Checking some golf out. Big golf guy.
Oh, yeah. You're a big hockey guy, big golf guy.
Yeah, I'm all around, man. Well balanced.
Well, I'll let you know that your particular hockey team did lose immediately after you predicted them to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Might be a jinx. But congrats to Dallas. Great job, guys.
Oh, look at. Whoa.
Wow.
Humility.
That is awesome.
Locked in.
Okay, Darius, tonight, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. Over-under for Joe Burrow, I believe, is 238.5 yards against that Cleveland Browns defense. Baker Mayfield, I forget exactly what his
235
is. 235.5, so they're pretty much the same. How do you feel? What do you think one of these quarterbacks is going to do? And how hard should we hammer your prediction for this evening?
Oh, hammered down.
Oh,
yeah. Joe Burrow, number one overall pick. He's gonna show why he was the number one pick this game, man. And last week he came within a drive, within a play, really, that OPI of winning the game. And he had a mean pass rush after him. Had some great DBs playing against with the Chargers. Casey Hay was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, actually, and he won't be facing that this week with the Browns. They only got one game record up front on defense. Myles Garrett, not like the two guys he faced last week. He'll be out of the pocket. The Browns struggled with that last week. Obviously, they're facing Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow's no Lamar Jackson, but he definitely takes advantage of guys out of the pocket, running in, throwing, so on. I'm seeing him have a big game this week. Hammer the over on Burrow.
Whoa. Okay, 238.5. And you would assume that if he does that, you feel good about the Bengals' chances tonight then against the Browns, even though the Browns roster, by all accounts, is a much more talented one.
Yeah, that's on paper, man. It's on paper. We just haven't seen it get done. You see Odell's numbers drop drastically since the trade before 2019 season. Baker just hasn't progressed as a quarterback. He just hasn't. You can make any excuse you want for him. He's got the weapons around him, and you just don't see it. And I see, like I said, I think that Chargers team is pretty good. They came within a couple plays, and then the damn kicker pulling a muscle
cramp
on the last kick of winning that game or taking the OT. So I'm going with the Bengals, man.
It was a bad cramp. AJ knows that.
Worst cramp of all time. Oh, yeah, worst cramp.
Cramp,
worst
yeah.
cramp ever in all of professional sports, they said.
Yeah, that's what they said. AJ knows.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen.
Confirmed.
Yeah, listen.
Hey, Darius, what? Okay, so Odell Beckham Jr., people want to say he's on the trade block, whatever. Is it more of Baker not getting him the ball, or is he not open? Like, I haven't studied him as much as you may have studied him. Like, what's going on with Odell?
It's really just the synergy between him and Baker. And you always feel like the grass is green on the other side. He excelled with Manning, top 5 in all the major categories and receivers, but never got on the same page with Baker. And you see his times when, football is a simple game. You get single high coverage, you get one-on-one outside with Odell, he's going to create separation. It's just going to come down to the quarterback consistently putting accurate passes on him. You saw it last game. And then when he does, sometimes it's Odell's fault as well. I see him drop some balls. He dropped a critical 3rd and 3, I believe, that he was wide open. Baker hit him in stride. So it's kind of both of them, but I would say it's definitely more Baker and more. They're changing systems every year, so it's not like anybody's getting comfortable. So they got to figure it out and quick.
Okay, so whenever you watch a game, for instance, I've heard from my offensive line friends that when they watch a game, they're literally just watching the offensive line play. I would assume AJ, it took him a little bit. Whenever he watches a game, he's more likely to watch what the linebackers are doing on the defensive side of the ball. You don't, AJ. AJ, you do not. You hate linebackers?
I'll peripherally watch the linebackers. I try to first see like what the coverage may be, how they're disguising on defense, and then I want to see what the offense is doing, like how. Are they motioned into a bunch, a stack? Like, what are they likely to do?
Oh, so you're trying to play the game whenever you watch it. So I've never done that because I've never actually played the game. But like the thought of, do you think, can you watch just a secondary? Like, can you break down a secondary or a wide receiver's production, and can you tell basically who's going to win the game? Like, do you feel that the secondary is one of those positions, one of those groups that can directly affect whether or not a team is going to win or lose?
Yeah, you can, but you always, it's football too. You never know. It's tough. Special teams is a big part of it. Field position, that affects play calling. So it's never that simple. But the Browns secondary, you got a lot of guys banged up in that secondary. You got Greedy Williams is out. They lost the second-round pick who's supposed to be a starter. You got Mac Brown, I believe. So you got a lot of guys out. So you have other guys that are stepping in, and that's when you get the mistakes. That's when you get the blown coverages. And Cincinnati has the talent on the edges to make them pay. So
one of my favorite moves by good veteran quarterback.
Start smiling like that.
Well, I started smiling just because I thought about a quarterback who's like a veteran. Now, granted, it's Joe Burrow, so he's only in his second game. He's still trying to find his level, too, in the NFL, I'd assume, even though he's handled everything in a cool fashion. But like a veteran quarterback, when there's a replacement corners in, or we talked about this yesterday, and that's why I started smiling, because I watched my rookie year. It was one of the most savage things I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the corners goes out. It might have been like week 4. One of the corners gets hurt. And Peyton saw like a number 47 or like a trash number coming off the sideline from their team as a replacement.
Not on the Scott report. I haven't seen that guy all week.
I did not even know that guy was on the team. Is he? Yeah. He's like looking over at the special teams coordinator. Is he a gunner for the punt? Who is this guy? So this kid jogged on the field all the way across the field. And I watched Peyton's helmet just follow him all the way to where he went. And then he looked at the guy. He was lined up. I forget who it was. There was a wide. It might have been Austin Collie or it might have been Reggie. It could have been whoever it was. And he literally looked at the guy. And then he made a check, and they went at that guy 8 straight times. It was just like boom, 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 boom. This is a touchdown. Tonight, the Browns have a brand new, basically secondary. 3 people are out. That is a massive amount of people that you're going to have to keep up with. Do you think Joe Burrow is at this point where he can do that? And have you ever been in a situation where you have either seen a teammate like, hey, he is looking at you right now. Like you need to know that he is coming this way. Careful. Has that happened in the NFL to you or to anybody you know?
I'll start with Burrow. I don't think Burrow's at that point yet. He's still kind of figuring it out. No preseason. Really no real offseason. So he's still figuring it out. And he went against one of the better pass rushers in the league, one of the better secondary groups in the league from game 1. So now I believe this game will kind of be like, it's a short week, but it'll kind of be like, okay, wow, it's maybe a little easier than I thought because you kind of got thrown in that fire. So I don't think he's at the point where he's picking guys out. He just wants to execute, make completions, and then make the big plays when they come his way. And on the other question, I've been that guy. I've seen that same big head that was watching that guy. I've seen that big head, check, blah, blah, and you just stand there like, well, yeah, I was watching this as a kid, and I'm really in it. Like he's checking. It's probably I'm lined up against Reggie. I'm a rookie. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And I remember that 4th and 2 game, actually. It was a drive where he came out, I want to say probably the second drive out of halftime. And he just went at me like 4 or 5 plays in a row with just routes I had never seen before. So I've been that guy. It's not a good feeling.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Hey, Darius,
it felt like I was in a movie and I just had no input on what I was doing. I was just an extra in the Tom Brady and Peyton battle.
That's awesome. If you were, let's say you were the D coordinator for the Browns, and they're all banged up. They don't have a whole lot of help in the secondary. What can he do? Like, what can he call defensively to help them out in the back end?
Man, it's tough because the first thing you think is keep safeties back. Keep 2 high safeties, but then that takes away guys in the run game. You have Joe Mixon. He's one of the better running backs in the league. Just got paid this offseason for a reason. So he's the number 1 guy you got to take away from the Bengals. So when you do that, when you're trying to take away Joe Mixon, you're going to leave those corners out on the island. So it's going to be tough, man. I try to protect them with cover 2, but you also got to play the game not to just lose. You got to be aggressive. So they got to earn their check, man. They're there for a reason.
So what do you think Joe Burrow's stat line looks like when the game is over tonight?
I would say, let's say 21 for 32.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, wow. 272 yards.
Oh!
Way over. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick.
Okay. Who's going to get the pick for Cleveland? Is there any humans we know that are going to be good in the back end there?
No, because it's going to be guys. It'll probably be Myles Garrett on like a freakish play, like a bat in the air and somebody picks it. It'll be something like that.
Oh, so it's like
I think Burrow wins this game, though.
So it's like Joe Dirt down there in Jacksonville picking off Phillip Rivers. Hey, let's talk about
where the hell this guy come from, man?
I know.
Sunshine coming out of nowhere. Come on, man. We got to figure it. What are we on right now? We on FCC right now?
No.
We got to figure that shit out. ASAP. You can't let Kirk Cousins come in there and get
So you,
Hell no. Hey, hit his ass. If he dies, he dies.
What happened on the defensive side of the ball for the Indianapolis Colts? They're supposed to be a defense that is supposed to be good. Phillip Rivers came to a team that had a great offensive line, great defense, good special teams. In the defense, I don't think they looked what everybody thought they were going to be. It had Tom Brady interested in coming to the Colts because they were the most complete team at one point. It was a hot landing spot because of that defense. What did you see, and why was Gardner Minshew able to pick them apart? Is Gardner Minshew the next Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Drew Brees? Is that what we're looking at?
I wouldn't put him in that category at all, but he's definitely a good quarterback. He's going to take what you give him, and we gave him a lot. You know, we played soft, we didn't play aggressive. It kind of looked like a first preseason, how you will call that game. It looked very vanilla. We didn't challenge the guys, and maybe that was because of the offseason. But when you bring over DeForest Buckner, I didn't feel his impact on the game. Xavier Rhodes, another addition, didn't make his impact on the game. So it's kind of vanilla plays. When you have a vanilla defense, you have to have the players that make the difference. Like, the players have to take control and make, because San Francisco has a vanilla defense. Seattle has a vanilla defense over the years, but they have guys who make the difference, make the plays, take charge of that defense. So that's what has to take place on our team.
We need to see more out of DeBoris Fuckner. Seriously, we do. We do, Darius. We absolutely do.
Forrest Buckner, I'm sorry.
Hey, I appreciate you joining us. We're going to hammer the Joe Burrow over 238.5. We'll talk to you tomorrow about it. We will hold you accountable, and then we'll get some predictions for the weekend, too. We appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, host of the Man-to-Man podcast and Everything DB, NFL, safety, and corner, Darius Butler.
I apologize to Connor, too. I forgot he was getting bullied earlier in the week by those stooges.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like to be a bully, man. I was just purely Heat Celtics banter.
Sure. Yeah, we get it, Darius. Just stick the football in the second.
What's up, fellas?
Darius, this has been a rough go here the last week. Tom Pellis.
Let me see those shades again, man. He looks like he'll be all right. It'll be all right, bro.
I got you a pair, too.
It'll be all right. I appreciate that.
Just kidding.
This Tom Brady's fucking up this week.
Just Darius Butler, thank you, man.
All right, man.
We appreciate you, DB.
Appreciate y'all.
So I've told this story before, but those who are new listeners, Darius Butler came to the Colts from the New England Patriots or the Carolina Panthers. I forget where he was at before us. He was a second-round draft pick for the Patriots for a while as a corner from the University of Connecticut. He came to our team. He played corner, then he played nickel, and then he played safety a little bit. I mean, he was all over. In Wednesday team meetings, whenever the head coach is going through the keys to victory and everything like that, every once in a while Chuck would ask questions about what the other team's going to do on Wednesday, and he wanted the defensive players to answer it. And he'd go around the room to each position group, and nobody would be like, maybe this is. Darius every week was the only one that was like, they're going to run bunch, they're going to do this, they're going to do that and that. It's like he is a film grinder. And whenever he just said, Joey Burrow over 238.5 yards, I hammered the hell out of that thing. But AJ, that completely contradicts what you thought was going to happen with the Cleveland Browns. So now I'm kind of torn.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with my Browns. I respect Darius's thought, and it does make sense with how banged up the Browns secondaries. I'm just counting on the Browns finding a way to get some pressure. I'm counting on Myles Garrett having a big day, and I think there's probably one other D lineman or D end that's going to have a big night too.
And by the way, both things can happen. Joey Burrow can have a big night and throw for 250, 260, and the Browns can get a win. It does feel like this is one of those games. Now, granted, that is me just thinking about Baker Mayfield's debut in the NFL. I think it was a Thursday night game. I think it was a Thursday night game.
Jets. Yep.
Tyrod Taylor got like a concussion or something. He came in and Baker Mayfield mania was running wild. All of Cleveland was celebrating like it was the Cavaliers championship parade. Like, we got a guy. We were pumped for Cleveland and Dog Pound. And then last year it was just like just complete dud. And we don't know if it's Baker. We don't know if it's a situation. We talked to DeQuell Jackson in the first hour. He said that place is just toxic. It's just a toxic place. Like, it'll just get you. He said it'll just beat you down. It'll just beat you down, AJ.
How do they get out of that rut? That seems to be a well-known thing with Cleveland. How do they transition out of that? Can Stefanski do that? Or do you need new ownership, new everything?
How do you think you get out of it? Honestly, in your eyes, if you were to do that, I mean, you were at the Bengals there. You guys were in the playoffs, though, I think, whenever you played there. The Browns are just a completely different story. There was a time there where the citizens of Cleveland couldn't even drink Bud Light because they hadn't won a game yet to unlock the Bud Light to the city. It was a wild time to be.
Shame.
It's a whole different. What would you do? How do you change that?
I mean, I guess you got to hopefully find the right coach, and they're hoping that Stefanski is that guy. They got like a whole new front office now as well. They got rid of the guys they brought in, John Dorsey, these Green Bay guys. Actually, they're all gone now. That had been in Green Bay at one point in their career when I was in Green Bay. I don't know. I think that's why people are so worried that are Cleveland fans, because when Baker was picked and then he gets thrust into the lineup in that Thursday night game, everybody that was a Cleveland fan's like, yes, we have found our guy. This is our quarterback. This is our savior. He's going to be here for 15 years, and we're gonna make a run. No one's going to be laughing anymore. And right now we're like on the verge of it's going to go one way or the other. Either Baker's the guy or he's not. And are we're looking at multiple years of losing seasons again?
Looks like it. Dog Pound Thunder. Let's go to Andrew in Cleveland, who might be a member of the Dog Pound before we get to a break. What do you want to talk about, Andrew?
So I am absolutely not a member of the Dog Pound.
Oh, smart.
There you go.
Lucky. Smart.
But first off, I want to thank you guys. I was actually the winner of that $1,000 Feel Good Friday back in May.
There we go. Congrats. Happy for you, bud. Pumped for you.
Went towards a lot of booze, so thanks for that.
Hey, happy for that. Yeah. Could have donated it.
So I wanted to bring up that the Bengals just signed Austin Seibert off waivers that the Browns just cut. So, just in case Fat Randy's leg falls off, what do you think the possibility is of him getting some sweet revenge on the Browns tonight?
Great question, Andrew. I did see Austin Seibert getting signed by the Bengals, formerly of the Browns. Last year, he was drafted to be the kicker at the Browns, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he was drafted out of Oklahoma. He had great stats and a great resume coming out of Oklahoma. He gets drafted to the Browns because they went through Zane Gonzalez and then like 4 other kickers the year before that. And Cleveland is not an easy place to that was good. See that? We just made eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
Not an easy place to kick. Very windy, obviously. There's a lot going on there coming off the lake. It's not a lot of fun. Austin Seibert now potentially gets a chance if those cramps take over for Randy Bullock on day of game and they have to sit him out. You bring in Austin Seibert, who had a great year last year, missed a couple kicks as a rookie. But maybe it's the jitters. Hey, maybe it's just the first game jitters. He had a bad game. Get off the guy's back. Both of them, Austin and Randy. Yeah. Who knows how it's going to end.
Do you think there's a chance, because the Bengals D-line is pretty banged up, that maybe they just slide Bullock in at like D-tackle?
All right.
Come on.
16 to 20 mile an hour tonight.
Could happen. Yeah, look for some missed kicks again, which is not great for the brand, but 16, 20 mile an hour wind, you got to play that thing. It's like a kite up there in the air. 26 minutes into hour 3 here with AJ Hawk. We'll take some phone calls on the other side. This is McAfee and Hawk, the third hour of the Pat McAfee Show. I love Hawaii, man. Every time I go there, now granted, you make a Pro Bowl, you think you're going to Hawaii. Instead, we went to the desert in Arizona. And then the next time I made a Pro Bowl, it was in Orlando. I was like, I'm out. Come on.
Were you the first group that they stopped doing Hawaii?
Yeah, I think it was like first or second group, of course. Of course. Worked my entire life to get there. It's an honor. It wasn't, though. I completely understand why guys don't go. It's like Tom Brady sitting out for another Pro Bowl. He's like, yeah, he doesn't want to drive 3 hours into the desert right now to go practice.
He go wherever he wants.
Yeah, and then the games, they need to make it just a bunch of competitions. They need to make it a bunch of contests, like the 40, everything like that. The bench, bring back the bench for the offensive linemen. Get an eating contest in there. Get the kickers to do a kicking contest. Get the punters to do a punting contest. Have that quarterback challenge that I watched on NFL Network just a couple months ago. Have that happen again for the long ball. You get Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes in there. You get Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers throwing maybe on an accuracy challenge. I like the little games that they set up for the quarterbacks. By the way, I would have went to the one in Orlando. I actually said I would go if they would have let me compete in the quarterback little carnival thing they had. And they told me no. And I was like, well, I'm not going.
Who makes that decision, the NFL?
Yeah, I got an actual letter that said no. And I was like, well, I retire and I'm not coming.
We regret to inform you that you are not allowed to participate in the quarterback.
I think I would do well in that thing, by the way. I think I would do very well in it. Everything is like right in my range. Like the deep ball, I think, is like 40 yards. For me, that's that's my actual flick of the wrist. Like, you know how you watch those Dude Perfect videos?
Oh, yeah.
And it takes them, I don't know, who knows how many
thousands.
I'm not going to judge them. A lot of other people do. People say it takes them 4,000 attempts. But if you throw the ball as far as you can and it lands, then you just put a trash can there. You're like, all right, I'm just got to throw this as hard as I can again. And then it's like science is basically making you hit that.
Great way to do it.
In that particular quarterback carnival that they do, everything is right in my wheelhouse. Like I was built for it. And I told Conte, the Colts PR guy, I had a dislocated kneecap at the time. I was supposed to get surgery. He was like, "Are you going to play in the Pro Bowl?" Because I had like a $250,000 bonus on the Pro Bowl or not. I was like, "I made the Pro Bowl. I should get my bonus." And he was like, "Well, technically in your contract it says you have to play in the Pro Bowl." I'm like, "Am I allowed to do that quarterback challenge?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it." Jim Irsay still paid me, by the way.
What a guy.
As he should. Good dude.
Yeah, as he should, by the way. No, I don't think he should. Because the contract technically said, like, people say billionaires stay billionaires because they're stingy with their money. He could have not paid me. He chose to pay me. Good guy. That's why I think the Detroit Lions just hated Calvin Johnson. Whether it's back to school, back to sports, or back to work, Game Face wipes are an essential in this new normal. Their antibacterial Warrior wipes are FDA approved and kill 99.9% of germs and bacteria. Safe to use on your skin as well as surfaces and objects such as gym equipment, cell phones, door handles, and gas pumps. For a limited time only, they have a special offer just for listeners of this show and watchers of this show. Use code PAT for 50% off. Yes, 50% off your first order at Game Face Wipes at GameFaceGrooming.com. Along with their antibacterial wipes, their wipe lineup includes 3 other awesome products: cleansing facial wipes, cooling facial wipes, and deodorizing body and underarm wipes, each with its own unique formula to keep you clean, cool, and refreshed all day or all game long while never drying out your skin or leaving a sticky residue like the other guys. All Game Face wipes are naturally formulated, 100% compostable.
Oh, yeah.
That's tough.
Great
2
for the
times the
environment.
size of an average wipe. Yes, size does matter. And made in the United States. Shout out to Canada as well. You guys would make good stuff. I use the cleansing wipes and antibacterial wipes every day after our Stairmaster workouts and whenever we get stuff done in the office. One for the face, one for the machine. It's a match made in heaven. That's GameFaceGrooming.com/Pat. And get 50% off, or just use promo code Pat at GameFaceGrooming.com. 50% off. How do you run a business?
It's insane.
It's a good question.
Makes no sense. AJ, you want to get some phone calls here?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go to Max over there in Pennsylvania. What's going on, Max?
I'm calling in from the wonderful city of Bradford, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay, yeah, we've heard of Bradford, of course. Sam Bradford.
Yeah. Oh, the curse of the Vikings. I can't tell you how much that man hurt our team. But I do have 2 questions for Pat and the boys.
Sam Bradford.
First question is what are you guys' opinions of the first selection Hall of Famers this year?
Oh, so Peyton's going in there, I believe. I believe Peyton is headlining the entire thing. Great question, Max. Sorry about what happened to your Vikings over there in Bradford, Pennsylvania. The Peyton Manning-led class that's going to go in is going to be a good one. What's happening? So they're combining last year's Hall of Fame class, AJ, you might know, last year's Hall of Fame class and this year's Hall of Fame class for one big-ass Hall of Fame ceremony next year, because that might be a 10-hour spectacle, and I am here for it, brother.
Yeah, I think that whoever got voted in last year, obviously they weren't able to do it this past August or July, whenever it is. So, yeah, they're just combining them. So they already know the class from last year is going in now. They just put the initial 140 some guys that are up for it. Peyton's obviously surefire. I saw a couple other guys on there that were guaranteed to get in first time.
Yeah, I think I remember the picture they put out where I remember looking at a couple faces going, that person's getting in there. But to be honest, they made Peyton Manning double the size of everybody else. And I was like, yep, probably. His speech, by the way, is going to be awesome. I would assume Peyton's speech is going to be awesome. Some of those speeches, now listen, it's your moment. You're going into the Hall of Fame. You do whatever the hell you want to do. And I would assume that's what the NFL tells them. There's a lack of self-awareness by some people. They go a little bit too long. But I like listening to those speeches, to be honest. I very much enjoy it. I like hearing their thoughts on things, what they remember, who they shout out. I would assume Peyton's is going to go down as the best speech in the history of the Hall of Fame potential. LaDainian Tomlinson's also good, being used currently right now. There's only a couple speeches you look back at and you go, you know what? Good speech. I assume Peyton's going to be one of those.
As far as first-year eligibles, Peyton's definitely going in. I'm pretty sure Charles Woodson will get in on the first time as well.
Yeah. Didn't you play with Charles Woodson?
Yeah, played a long time with Charles. Yeah,
unbelievable.
He's in, no doubt.
Why was he so good? Why was he such a great football player, Charles Woodson?
Well, Charles he's uniquely intelligent, both off the field and on the field. He probably has the best ball skills I've ever seen, like receiver or DB. Charles, he won the Heisman returning punts, playing receiver and DB. Charles can legit play receiver, but his football instincts are off the charts, and it's because of how smart he is and because of how he studies too. Charles he would be calling out route combinations when they'll be moving pre-snap, they're motioning into a certain formation. Charles will be calling out what the most likely route combinations are coming. He's just on another level, and everyone kind of was always in awe of what Charles can do.
So, when I watched Peyton in practice was the same Peyton as Sunday. He treated every single practice as if it was a game. And I think a lot of guys that were very great. Freeney, whenever I was there was a couple of days he took off, but when he practiced, he was at Robert Mathis. It was every practice was like a game. Reggie Wayne, every practice was like a game. I feel like those guys that are at that top level of football, there's probably some outliers. Did Charles Woodson go hard every day in practice, or was he a guy that kind of took off some days and then he showed up on Sundays and that's all that mattered?
No, when Charles was healthy, he practiced every single day. There was one year where he had some really bad turf toe type thing, I believe, and he couldn't really practice at all. He would lay on the table and have his toe worked on and watch film on his iPad, and he wouldn't be able to practice, but then he'd come out in the game and light it up. He had a year like that, but normally he was in there. He was always practicing, and he's trying to get – he would always get a ton of picks in practice too, and the best is it's fun. A guy like Charles gets a pick in practice, he's trying to return it to the house too. So when that happens, the whole team gets involved. Coaches are all when a defense gets a pick, if it's ones-on-ones, I don't know if it was like this in Indy. I would assume it is.
It was.
The guy starts running it back. Everybody that's on the offensive staff, players, coaches, everybody is chasing that guy, trying to at least get some hands on him to stop him and not let him return it for a touchdown.
And I would assume you, as a middle linebacker, after watching him start running, you go, oh, shit, I got to run for this too. and you watch everybody and sometimes it's a red zone drill that's happening, and you're down inside your own 20 as a defense. You get a pick at the goal line, and there's only a couple guys normally on each team that are dead set on, I'm going to finish every single play. By the way, nothing wrong with it. You got to do what you got to do. But what that does to everybody else on the defense, they see one person get a pick, and maybe they're like, okay, this play will stop. Then they see who it was. They're like, fuck, we got to run 85 yards right now with this guy as if we're going to do this. Those are electric moments that I just, you don't get to see anywhere else except for on those practice films.
Well, what I would do, especially because I don't want to run 85 yards and then have to sprint back and call the huddle for the next play because I don't get to take any plays off after that. Guy like Charles,
no plays off. No plays off.
Guy like Charles can tap his arm and someone can come in after he returns at 90 yards if he wants to. I would always try to find one of the offensive coaches, usually the O-line coach, and I would go and I'd forearm him in the chest and I'd hold on to him and shield him. No, come on, man. Now we're not running down the field now. Let's go. What are you doing? They'd initially be pissed at me because I would give them a little shot, but then they started to understand, no, this is what we're doing here so we can finish practice and still run hard in the next rep.
Very, very smart. My go-to move when I was standing on the sideline, because practice, you can only kick so many balls and hold so many balls and throw so many dimes against the defense. You know what I mean? There's only so much you can do. Yeah. If anybody caught a ball on the sideline near me, I'm going for the punch out from the side, just out of nowhere. And there was only one time I ever got the ball out, and that poor guy got ridiculed so hard for dropping the ball because the big thing with wide receivers is in practice, you catch it. Defense is even trying to punch it out after the play. So when the whistle is blown dead, even when you're jogging back to the huddle, defenders are trying to punch it out because balls on the ground is a point for the defense, and it's a point against the offense or whatever. So whenever I was just like fucking around because I'm bored, just trying to punch it out or whatever, everybody would be like T.Y. was normally the guy that was on our sideline. He was getting the ball, and I'd go to punch it, and he would just every single time, nope, he would scream or whatever, right as he's running by. Young guy came by, and it was like a perfect punch out. Dude just got chewed out in practice. Oh, no. In the film room. I just felt so bad. Well, T.Y. I think told me, he was like, Pat, I hope you feel good. The rookie that we don't even know his name just got chewed out for you punching the ball out or whatever. He's probably going to have to run. Probably won't get another rep. I'm like, whoa. Tell him, hey, ball security, job security, kid. Ball security, job security, kid. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, think of this poor kid. He's probably a rookie. Probably Peyton was there. You're young. And he finds a way to catch a ball from Peyton Manning. He jukes the guy. He's run up the sideline. And all of a sudden, the punter / kickoff artist punched the ball out on me and ruins my whole moment and actually puts a bad picture in all of the coaches' minds so that they will never, ever put me in a real game situation.
It wasn't with Peyton. So it was with Andrew Luck. I mean, it is
Doesn't matter.
It's not great. Yeah. That's tough. By the way, I did get a punch out in a game, though. So I was practicing,
Worked
too.
out. Yeah,
how come nobody ever thinks about me practicing?
You were right. You were right by doing that because it's true. Like, if a guy is holding a ball anywhere and he plays football, like he should be. It's like the program. What was it, Omar Epps who carried the ball
Darnell
around
Jefferson.
Like you can't let it down, and you know that if you have a ball in your hands, people are going to take shots at it all the time.
Hey, keys to victory this week for the offense: the ball. Keys to victory for the defense: the ball. And on special teams, let's just win field position. All right, let's get out of here. The ball is the most important thing. I also enjoy the defensive guys whenever they take a corner in a hallway, they'll swipe the corner or something like that.
Dip and rip.
Yeah, like a dip and rip. I like those type of guys. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. We're getting ripped around every corner. If you see a door, you're going to strike and shed. Yeah, I get it.
Yo, I strike and shed the shit out of
the general strikes and sheds.
Let's go to Jacob in Muncie, Indiana. By the way, Muncie is the home of Ball State. Chirp. And also Muncie is the home of the one and only lady who attended a comedy show of mine and shit her pants.
And Ryan Kerrigan.
And Ryan Kerrigan also from
Dave Letterman from there?
Yeah.
He went to Ball State. Yeah, chirp.
Ross.
Also, Garfield was created at Ball State. And the ball jar, I don't know if you know that, is also
jar?
the ball jar, like the like mason jars.
Ball Brothers.
The Ball Brothers, yeah, the mason jar, like, you know, one of those things. It's a ball. Yeah, also from there. Muncie, and also, I do believe at one point, it was the only town in the country that was still selling those bath salts that were turning people into demons, and they were eating bullets and stuff like that. Yeah. Like all the bad drug lords of the world were like, we're not selling this stuff anymore. And then like 2 months later, it was like the biggest bath salt bust in history was in Muncie, Indiana. It was like, oh, okay, they're not giving up on it up there.
Good place.
But also has some interesting, aggressive addictions every once in a while. They figured it out, though. Good people. What do you want to talk about, Jacob?
Hey, Pat. I just have a couple questions for you.
Poor Jacob, by the way.
I love this show. I've been listening on the phone for about 2.5 hours now, just trying to talk to you so far.
Chirp.
Oh, nice.
And I just want to extend the invitation to you and the guys to come up here to Muncie for some burgers and some brew.
Burgers, brew, bath salts, triple B's up there. That would be great.
Yes, sir.
Jacob, we appreciate that offer. If we ever go back to Muncie.
I got one more thing as well.
Oh, okay. You got it. 2.5 hours.
My cousin used to catch your balls before the games. He worked for the Colts as the equipment manager.
Sam.
And I don't know if you remember his name, but his name was Justin Green.
Well, Justin Green lied to you because Sam was my guy. He's actually from.
It may have been Vinny.
Yeah, he might have helped out with Vinny. My guy was Sam, and he was equipment manager whenever I was young, but he would come back on game days just like when he was no longer equipment manager, and he literally would catch. He was a better ball catcher for punters, I think, than some returners in the NFL, to be honest with you. He got into some scraps, too, like other returners. Pac-Man, for instance, every single time Pac-Man would try to get back there and just watch my punts and warm up, and then he would try to catch them. Like, that was his move, because that's getting used to the ball. That's a big part of, like, punt returning. So Sam him and Pac-Man, I believe, got into like an elbowing thing one time.
What?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was absolutely
this guy's a weapon.
Well, and then Pac-Man and I are friends, so he would come in and be like, hey, your guy's getting aggressive down there, Pat. I'm like, hey, man, can't have you catching ball. Okay, need you to be a little bit surprised out there. He was very, very talented. But I literally knew that Like he and I had a real relationship. So other guy probably caught for Vinny.
Is that an unwritten rule?
What's that?
Pac-Man catching your punts before the game.
Yeah, it is. I think that is a football unwritten rule. Like, yeah, I do believe that would be one of them, even though there isn't a lot. Like when the at the end of the game, quarterback kneel down, like you don't dive at the legs. There's an unwritten rule. In warm-ups, yeah, you don't do it. It's a very interesting thing.
Pac-Man.
Because I'm trying to bring that ball down from the clouds, and I would like you not to know what it feels like when it's coming down until game time, and you could potentially drop it. But Pac-Man, I forget there was somebody else who got into it with him too. It was hilarious. I enjoyed it, by the way, and I would put it near just to just kind of see how it was going. I enjoyed it a lot. AJ, what were your warm-ups like for a game? Did you hit people, or did you wait for the game to do anything?
I didn't really need to hit a whole lot. We would do some tackling drills, with the linebackers during a little individual time. I just wanted to move around, catch a couple balls, fit up a little bit with some O linemen, just feel good, like get some good like quick strikes. I don't need to sit there and have some full go tackle to the ground, but I didn't also wanted to keep my head out of it. I was like, man, we only have so many of these. I'm not wasting any of these shots in pregame before it even starts. But there's a lot of guys that love to waste a lot of those headshots in warmups, and a key to being a vet is finding out who those guys are and staying the hell away from them.
Let's talk about the Big Ten being officially back. Obviously, that happened yesterday. And what we learned on the internet is that nobody cares about the Big Ten.
Nope.
So maybe our worst performing video we've ever put out on the internet was us announcing that the Big Ten is back. Like literally the worst performing video we've ever put on YouTube, a clip segment about Big Ten coming back, is Big Ten. Nobody in the Big Ten world that we search in Big Ten, I guess, utilizes YouTube. I don't know if that's the case, but it's very interesting because now that the Big Ten is back and the ACC's already been going, the SEC's about to launch off, and the Big 12's already playing football, American Conference. Now you have 4 of the 5 power conferences back, the power conferences. Pac-12, allegedly, if you listen to Matt Leinart, you listen to other former players that played in the Pac-12, they're pushing people to say, hey, we got to get the football back. Now, Heather Dinich, who is on ESPN, who said at the very beginning of potential tide turning in the favor of Big Ten football coming back, that was not what she was hearing and everything like that. She basically reiterated the same thing about the Pac-12, like she's hearing that they're not turning around or whatever. But I guess, isn't that what she said? She said that this morning. She's very knowledgeable, though. This late, she knows a lot. So, like, whenever she speaks, we listen because she knows her stuff. But it feels like Governor Newsom in California has said football can happen or can happen. I feel like Oregon also said football can happen. There's been a lot of people saying that football can happen. Now the Pac-12 is sitting behind the Big Ten trying to figure out whether or not they can put a schedule together. And the big question is, will anybody care? That would be very, very interesting because the Pac-12 was kind of like a silent partner in this entire thing with the Big Ten. Big Ten made the announcement. The Big Ten fans are pissed. Pac-12 was just kind of sitting back, see what happens. Now Big Ten's back. Will Pac-12 come back? And we asked Bobby Carpenter yesterday if he's going to help out or not. And he said no, AJ. What do you think?
Well, he said he's got to stay in his lane. I don't think there's, like, if you are the people making the decisions for the Pac-12, has there been any kind of, like, groundswell of people trying to fight to get it back? Like, do they have a General Bob out there? I know they got, Sanchez and Liner, but are those guys putting in the legwork that Bobby put in?
They have a network, right?
I don't believe that anybody in the Pac-12 care. They got to remember now, there's a lot of wildfires out there too. People are going through a lot, let alone a worldwide pandemic, a quarantine, protests, riots happening over there, and also now wildfires just kind of breathing over everywhere. There's a lot going on there. So I would assume the Pac-12 fans, which we don't know a lot about, I don't think I know a lot about the Pac-12 fans, they're occupied with other things. But the Pac-12, I'd assume, if they sit this out, to be deemed a power conference still is going to be one that a lot of people are going to, not us, obviously. We're not going to question it. You got a lot of shit going on. But I would assume a lot of people are potentially going to be like, are they even a power conference if everybody else is playing?
I could tell you who loves it, and it's the late night crowd, because I love falling asleep to a nice Pac-12 Mountain West game. That is a nice little treat after Herbie.
Yeah. Herbie
and Fowler, and their game, and then another game comes after that. It's a nice little treat.
Well, it's interesting, though, because the people that do watch the Pac-12 are just the gamblers.
Yes.
And the gamblers are not going to go fight for Pac-12 games. Like, you would have to have the Pac-12 loyal, diehard fans, the alumni, the former players. And that has not happened very much. And I think anybody that doesn't think the Big Ten's back because of the amount of, people pissed off. That's the only reason why they kept on top of it. Pac-12 hasn't had that. They're going to try to, get back on board by October 27th or whatever, maybe have a 6-week run or something like that. I don't know. None of it makes sense to me. The Big Ten only allotting themselves 8 weeks still doesn't make sense to me, but we'll see how it goes, AJ. We'll see how it goes.
Well, and even when like the Big Ten did get canceled, didn't all those guys, they were still working, they were still kind of like pushing forward to try to save the season. Like we mentioned, like a couple coaches in the Pac-12 have been, the entire athletic department's been furloughed. Like, I just don't think they care.
All right, let's go to Gus in Oregon, actually.
Ooh.
Gus, does anybody care about Pac-12 football out there?
So let me just say this, man. We got a lot of trucks out here with Oregon stickers. My girlfriend went to Oregon State. She rode there. So RIP the rowing program, women's rowing at Oregon State, because there's football money coming in. But, yeah, people give a shit out here, and I bet there's a lot of pissed off people. Need a General Bob out here to organize everybody with the Oregon stickers on the back to go to the state courthouse right there and try and get football back, man.
Okay, so I respect that hearing from you, Gus. What do you want to talk about, brother?
So, all right, I just want to say two things right here. So I live in Oregon, but I spent 5 years in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Just want to say to Foxy, fuck your Lions.
That is so unnecessary.
I like this guy.
That's so unnecessary. We're a bad team. We've been a bad team forever. Why would you take a shot at us? You know you're going to win by 6,000 points this weekend. Just leave it at that.
Okay, hey, this is all I got to say. Our boy Aaron Rodgers, no more Danica. Organizations trying to push him out the door. Nothing more dangerous than a man with his back against the wall with nothing to lose. Regular season MVP, Super Bowl MVP, we're going all the way, baby.
See, Gus, the thing that we're talking about here, though, is you hear what he's passionate about out there in Oregon?
Bingo.
He's passionate about the Green Bay Packers out there in Oregon. He did not have just an absolute passionate rant there about Oregon football coming back, and I would assume that's the difference between, like, people that live in Ohio. There is 2 NFL teams in Ohio, and they are the second and third most liked teams in Ohio behind Ohio State. That's just the difference there. But what he said about the Green Bay Packers is a little bit of a harsh shot. They got the Lions this weekend, AJ. Lions and Packers this weekend. Tough day.
Is it a trap game for Green Bay? These are the ones
that
think about it. Because the worst thing you could ever do if you were Green Bay is to come out of the gates like they did. Aaron looks amazing. Defense plays well. Overall, great team win. Is to go lay an egg to the Detroit Lions, who are right now already struggling this early in the season.
They have the Saints next week on Sunday Night Football.
Oh, my God.
Looking ahead.
Are they looking ahead to the Sunday Night Football primetime matchup against the undefeated Saints, knowing that they got a completely depleted Lions defense? Is Aaron Rodgers, in his 100th year quarterback at the top of his game, not thinking about the Lions? TBD this Sunday.
It sounds like AJ speaking from experience. Like, AJ, I assume when you see the Lions on the schedule all those years, you were like, yep, let's just keep it moving. Look on to next week because this team stinks.
No, we actually had some good battles with the Lions. We never looked at it that way. I think you feel it from the coaching staff because, of course, going into week 1, there's so many unknowns. Like, the Packers are thinking, okay, we did all this stuff, the draft, there's all this controversy, whatever. We feel good about camp. Oh, we go out there and we absolutely light up the Minnesota Vikings. So that week of practice was exciting. Like, we're starting the season. Now I'm just trying to contrast the different weeks, what it feels like as a player. That first week you're excited, like, okay, this is a big test for us. Now you know the Detroit game should not be a big test. If it is a test for the Packers, then even if they win the game, it's almost like a loss because they know they probably shouldn't struggle with the Detroit team right now that has the injuries they do in the back end. Like, wherever they look, they should dominate this game. So if they don't, it's almost like a loss for Green Bay, even if they get a W on the scoreboard.
AJ, were you a guy that wasn't able to get up for every single game? I thought you were a professional athlete. You're paid to play football. It's a kid's game. There was weeks that you weren't all the way up for. That's crazy, dude.
I mean, that's not even remotely close to what I was saying.
It's a privilege to play in the NFL. You know,
it's not a right to play in the NFL. And if you're not going to live.
A big thing though, Pat, and you know this. You need to be intrinsically motivated. You shouldn't have to count on other factors, other people to motivate you to be playing the greatest sport in the world.
In the greatest league, protect the shield. Play hard every single game like it's your last game because you never know. It's a privilege, not a right, AJ.
Yeah.
You're just talking about other players that aren't as intrinsically motivated.
I'm not saying the players are overlooking Detroit. I'm saying how nervous and how tight
the buttholes
Oh,
for all the coaches right now. You know how it goes. Well, tight buttholes out here today, huh, guys? Like that's what happens when coaches get nervous. When they feel like players are getting nervous, like that's how it always happens.
It is very funny to listen to coaches describing the atmosphere, and it feels like they're talking to the mirror. It's like, oh, are you talking to us, or are you talking to yourself?
Reiterating to yourself.
Yeah, are you like trying to tell yourself that nobody's going to be nervous this week? Hey, we're going to get out there. We're going to fly around. Okay, we're going to empty the chamber. No tight buttholes today. We're going to be loose out there. Blah blah blah. And then it's like, yeah, we have. Oh, this is how you guys. Oh, this is the coaches' meetings that we're hearing here. That's what we're listening to right now. Very, very interesting. Coaches don't get talked about enough in their game performances, clutch time game performances. Some coaches completely change the humans that they are on game day because they say those who can't do coach. And I think there's a lot of great coaching, but sometimes when it comes down to it, crunch time, nobody ever, and the refs too. Refs sometimes have to choke, or not have to, but choke in big moments. Nobody talks about that. It's always the players. Sometimes coaches change immensely on game day, and you're like, wait, who's this guy?
What the hell?
Hey, how about this? You know what? We'll make the decisions. You prepared us enough all week. Great job. We'll make the decisions here, though, because it feels like you don't have a single good thought in your head today for whatever reason that is. That happens.
Doesn't it seem, though, like when you look at any profession, like you see a guy that's a head coach in the NFL, you see a guy that's a GM in the NFL, you assume, all right, yeah, that's a very smart guy that deserves to be there, that they earned that right. Yeah, and they're a genius, basically. You think of that one, oh, the CEO of this company, and then you talk to anybody that works, they're like, oh, this guy's an absolute idiot. He's terrible. And no matter what the job is, there are guys that don't deserve to be there, but we just assume that they're going to make all the right decisions. They know how to manage the clock. They know what they're doing here. And, yeah, they're still humans. So there's always going to be some room for error. And you have to let that – you got to think about that, I guess, especially if you're a gambler, if you're a big fan of your team. Yeah, you got to know, like, who's running the show, who's making the decisions when it really counts.
Because that matters. And coaches have always gotten like a pass almost. But you know what this show's going to do? We're going to judge everybody equally. Mm-hmm. And if you suck, guess what? You suck.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But we're not saying you can't bounce back. Speaking of sucking, who's going to suck the most on your poll, Zito?
As of right now, we have X out of it. Cleveland Browns 59.2%, Cincinnati Bengals 13.4%, refs 27.5%. Honorable mention OBJ's chest.
Okay, what else did the internet think about the show today, Zito? What are some things they were intrigued by and we should do more of?
Honestly, they loved everything. They loved AJ's new camera angle. He's not running anymore. But yeah, they loved it. 10 out of 10, they're saying.
Remember, you can join the conversation of our show by using the hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live. If you cannot get in on the phone lines, Zito will be keeping track of that every day. We should add that in. If you're also a poll doer, find out Viva La Zito. From all of us to all of you watching and listening, we can't thank you enough. We'll be back manana to overreact to tonight's Cincinnati Bengals Cleveland Browns game. Jordan Palmer had an explosive, electric segment on this show earlier. To quote Jackson, Darius Butler, and AJ Hawk. Anything to say to the people, AJ Hawk?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
A legend, trailblazer in the sports talk world, Chris Mad Dog Russo is on the other side of this break on Channel 82, Mad Dog Sports Radio, which we are incredibly thankful and pumped to be a part of. We'll be back manana with more stupid conversation. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, September 17th. Oh, thanks, man.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, man.
He's the best.
You have a good show.
Joel. Thanks, Joel. Hey, AJ. Joel said, hey, see you, man.
All right,
see
Joel.
you, Joel. Hey,
all right, Joel. Yours, Joel. Yours.
Sick of Joel.
All right, Joel.
Hey, Joel said you had a great show. To the YouTube people, if you ever want to potentially get something on the show, tweet it at Viva La Zito or at the comment section at Viva La Zito, or on Twitter, or fill in on the poll. We want to make the internet folks be a little bit more involved in the show. I don't know if they're taking the phone calls or not, but we only have 6 lines and they're normally filled the entire time. So please tweet at Viva La Zito using the hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live in the comments section. Tag him in your questions or your thoughts. We'll try to get those in a little bit more. Also, we have exclusive content coming to McAfee Mafia members, which we are so thankful for. You should become a member. Right now, there is a 25% discount code happening for McAfee Mafia members. The likes did not get to 4,000, so we will not do a 20% off sale. That's tough. YouTube people didn't hit the thumbs up. That's on them. Maybe we'll try to do it tomorrow. From all of us to all all of you. You're the absolute greatest. Cheers. Have a good Thursday.